It's a beautiful Saturday for football here in Central Illinois. The crowds are large, the tailgates are strong, and the football teams are even better as we reach the IHSA quarterfinals today here in Class 6A. It's the Washington Panthers at 10-1 in the Mid-Illini Conference and the Glenwood Titans at 8-3 out of the Central State 8 Conference. I'm Jonathan Michael here alongside Owen Dimful. Owen, quarterfinal games, you really get down to the best of the best at this point, and there's really no bad teams remaining, so any game has the potential to be close like this one here.
Yeah, and the most interesting to see today, used to the Friday Night Lights action here, day game here, but the most interesting thing to see here today is going to be the high-powered on both sides of the ball. With Glenwood, you're going to see the high-powered offense, the passing attack, going up against a really good, stout, pressured run defense of the Panthers. So you're going to see a buzzsaw versus a buzzsaw and expect sparks to fly in this one.
It really should be, as the band is on the field right now. All the fans are standing up here. It's a beautiful day here in Chatham, just south of Springfield. Great facilities here at Glenwood High School. Great field as well. Got a big red G in the middle of it, the Glenwood Titans. They'll be wearing their red uniforms with a blue now Los Angeles Chargers type bolt on them, and navy blue. Washington is going to be donning their away whites. But just a great scene here right now. The stands are packed. I mean, the Washington side, and looking across the way, there's an empty seat there in the visiting bleachers as well. And soon, the Glenwood players will have quite the interesting introduction running down onto the field.
Yeah, we've been excited for this all, on our drive over here. We saw the berm kind of coming into the parking lot, and it's a great thing to look at. I'm excited to see them come down, and, it reminds me of like the Clemson rundown. They touch Howard's Rock before they take the field, so be interesting to see how that looks.
The Glenwood Titans are obstructed for us right now. Can't see them where they're at, but they will be running down that berm over on the left side of the stadium here in just a bit. The Washington Panthers are taking the field. Owen, a special season for them. We've said it so many times. Their 100th year of football. Head coach Daryl Crouch, his final season. Again, hoping to postpone that retirement party for at least another week. And they're playing some amazing football right now, really hitting their stride, and they've improved as the season has gone along.
Yeah, you said they're hitting their stride at the right time, finding ways to, really put the pedal down on their opponents. Last week against Crete-Monee, a really tough opponent, but they shut them out. And McQuery, he had a tough time in the first half getting things going, but with time, he found a way. Still ran for 186 yards and a touchdown. Very huge performance from him. Maybe see another performance like that today against the Glenwood Titans defense.
Certainly, and we'll take a quick look at how Washington got here. They started the season 1-1. A big win on the road against Caneland all the way back in week 1. Seems like forever ago at this point. And then they lost to Kankakee 7-3 in week 2. Since then, they've won 9 in a row. Many shutout performances or games where they've allowed less than 10 points. They beat undefeated Dunlap, then undefeated Morton. Then they creamed Danville in the first round, 50-14. Then took down Crete-Monee. They shut them out last week. That's a great Crete-Monee offense. And Washington shut them out 21-0. Again, that defense is really a big part of it, but also, again, Cam McQuery is just such a special running back, one of the better ones across the entire state.
Yeah, the one thing that I think Washington does really well is play complementary football. It's never one side that really just takes the cake in an entire game. The offense, they'll do their part. The defense will do their part. That front seven, they get after the quarterback and find every pressure. Something that Glenwood saw last week in their game against Richards. So I'm really curious to see how well they can, perform against this front seven against the Panthers if it's a similar performance.
And you mentioned that Glenwood game against Richards last week, Owen. What an insane football game. We were broadcasting Washington's game last week. We were in the booth following along to see who the Panthers might play next week. It looked like it was going to be Glenwood at first, and then Richards, then Glenwood, then Richards, and then it ended up being Glenwood who won in a 52-51 overtime victory on the road in Oak Lawn. There were 4 scores in the last about just couple minutes of the game. The Titans got a touchdown with, I want to say, less than 2 minutes left. Oak Lawn Richards went ahead by 4, or I should say 3. with just over a minute left. Then Glenwood's got a touchdown as time expired in regulation. And here come the Titans mounting the berm over on the south end zone. Looking on our left, carrying a big black flag with a red G on it, the American flag as well. A big team, Glenwood is as well. They have the numbers for sure. And what a moment this is for the Titans. And you gotta wonder what's going through the Washington players' mind as well. I mean, this is really special. One of the best traditions that you see in high school sports. They wave the American flag, rocking back and forth, and any second, they will come tearing down that hill.
It's intimidating, man. I'm getting chills just watching that. It's taking me back to when I was playing high school football in the playoffs. It's just a different energy this time of year. You know, you want it all, and you're going to give it your all in these games.
And now they take the field, and the Glenwood faithful is, again, this is our first time coming down here. Looks like their thing is they are holding little plastic jugs, almost like milk cartons almost, and they have coins in them, and they shake them around, and they make a lot of noise. That's pretty unique. I've never seen that before, but again, you know, lots of traditions here at Glenwood. You know, a very successful program traditionally, looking for, I believe, their 8th or 9th quarterfinal appearance in their first one since 2019. Again, they've been tested this year as well, playing the Central State 8 Conference. But again, you know, 2 big games for them in the playoffs. Their offense has been the key for them.
Yeah, their past 3 games, 2 of them playoffs, the last game of the regular season too. They put up 53 points per game. If you're Coach Hay, when your offense is putting up that much points, you feel comfortable in any game with that kind of on offense.
They beat Bloomington 63 to 28 in the first round. Then again, they scored 52 to Oak Lawn in the last round. And, you know, really the most interesting part about this team, Owen, is that they're doing so with a very young squad. Injuries have decimated Glenwood, and they found younger guys that have been able to step up, come up in big key moments, and they'll be led by their sophomore quarterback, Colton Knadler, who had a massive game last week.
Oh, when I saw his numbers from last week, I mean, my jaw just dropped. 385 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's another key thing for a sophomore quarterback to not have a turnover in a game, a playoff game. That's going to be huge.
Washington, on the other hand, they're a bit more experienced. Dozens and dozens of seniors on that team that took their lumps early on last year. You could see that this team, before they graduated, they were going to make a special run, and this is the year for them. Both teams now on the field getting ready to get things going. Glenwood will receive the kick, and they will go from right to left towards that berm, which they just came down. And head coach David Hay for Glenwood, Owen, he said that, you know, that we run up and down that berm all summer long during workouts. And if you want to run down that berm, first you have to run up it. And all that work in the preseason for both teams is culminated in this. The 10-1 Washington Panthers, the 2 seed in Class 6A, Glenwood at 8-3, the 6 seed. And we are underway in Chatham. A low kick from Devin Mueller is brought in at about the 21-yard line by Glenwood, finds a seam. And a nice return there from Brady Dwyer brings him out to about the 38-yard line.
Yeah, good start in field position, get your first possession out there. And now we get to see that Titan offense.
Averaged 52 points per game in their last 3 games. On the year, they're averaging 38.5 total. When you take all things considered, Washington, on the other hand, allowing less than 10 per game. Here's Knadler with 5 wideouts. We're going to see that quite a bit here today from the Titans, who like to throw the ball. Trying to get in with a hard count. Washington doesn't bite. He goes back, looking to throw past midfield and incomplete. He was looking for his man Blake Layden, another sophomore for Glenwood.
And already we see the pressure from the Panthers front 7 getting after Knadler. I believe it was Garrett Cox knocking him down on that one. And that pass play, I mean, he got the snap quickly out. Probably going to see a lot of that just given the pressure he's going to face tonight.
He will have to get the ball out quick. Washington brings 2 very strong DNs and Garrett Cox and Carter Prina, a senior and a junior respectively. Man in motion here with 2 wideouts. That is Zach Phipps. And a run to the outside. A short gain of maybe just about 2 or 3. Looks like that was Grady Mueller, the wide receiver / running back on the carry.
Yeah, not much going out there. They really try to get the edge to, you know, get the running back to burst outside, but That left side of that D-line, just right there.
Oh, pickup of officially 3. It's 3rd and 7 from about the 40.5-yard line. And if you're just tuning in, first drive for Glenwood, they're trying to get a first down. Washington didn't allow many in the first half last week against Crete Moni. Hardly any at all for that matter. Naylor dropping back to throw, and that pass is batted away. It is almost picked off by Washington. We've seen that so many times from the Panthers where they bat balls at the line that was batted up, I believe, by Prina, and Cox had it in his hands, then dropped it, but fourth down incoming.
Very close. Yeah, Garrett Cox, he had an interception of his own on the year. Not only do they get after the quarterback for sacks-wise, they force the turnover. A lot of forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, and interceptions from this defense.
And it all starts with just creating that pressure, flushing the quarterback out. We've seen that sometimes for Washington this year, and just batting balls at the line. Defensive linemen, including Noah Bell, have gotten lots of picks this year. Glenwood will punt it. Washington brings the pressure, nearly gets to the punter, Tristan Schwint. Mason Burke picks the ball. We have a ref down at the 20-yard line. Burke still going across the 30 and tackled down at the 32-yard line. Burke and one of the linesmen collided, and thankfully he didn't decide to throw a flag.
Yeah, I mean, just went down. Oh, well, you'll have those on the big jobs.
Officiating crew today, I'm sure they're probably sending some of the better ones out there. Obviously, deeper getting into the playoffs, less games go down across the state. We will keep you guys all updated on the score of Kankakee and East St. Louis. What a game that's going to be. The winner of this game will take on one of those teams next week, the Flyers and the K's. Both very strong programs, and Washington's already faced one of them. Washington goes a heavy set, just one wide receiver. Harlan, the fullback, and McQuery, the running back. They hand off to McQuery. Plows ahead for about 4 or 5. Nice job on first down by McQuery.
Yeah, the offensive line got a decent push up on that first drive, or first play of the drive. It's going to be their bread and butter all day.
So 2nd and 5 now from the from the Washington 42. They'll go McQuery again, running left. Behind the left guard, Cash Wisher, and McQuery has a first down out across the 45 to the 47. Owen, the thing about McQuery is he just doesn't go backwards too often. I think that's going to be the toughest thing for Glenwood to try and stop. Maybe they just have to accept it today.
And that's the one frustrating thing if you're a defensive player. Running backs that just keep their legs moving. Very difficult to bring down, and McQuery is just a definition of one of those running backs.
Glenwood has a 3-4 front led by 2 seniors on the ends, and Justin Hay, the son of head coach David Hay, Dalton Scott, A.J. Ferguson, the sophomore nose tackle in the middle. They'll go McQuery again to the left side. He's got a big hole, and almost broke that one free before he's wrapped up at an arm tackle near the sticks.
Yep, a shoelace away from probably Pater on that one. Couldn't quite see who got him on the tackle.
As Jackson Stewart and Josh Hofer actually on the left side of the line. Henry Warwick, Cash Wisher, the returning experience on the right side of the line. Aiden O'Brien, Washington center in the middle. This team has stayed pretty healthy all season long. They hand off to the up man, Harlan, the fullback. And he's up across the 40-yard line before he's upended by Becklin Anderson. Junior DB for Glenwood, pickup of about 7 or 8 there from the fullback.
Jace Harlan, the Bulldog, nicknamed by his teammates. He's going to be, like that surprise player. Everybody's going to key up on McQuery, but you can give it to Harlan. He's just going to be just as effective. Harlan on the year, he's ran for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Last week he had 4 carries for 24 yards, but again, good to have that fullback in the backfield to help spell McQuery if they need. They go to McQuery again, breaks 1 tackle, breaks another. He's still running on the near side. He's got some open space across the 15, the 10, down to the 5-yard line. Kanon McQuery, a run of 30 on 2nd and 2.
What great blocking. I mean, I just saw number 80, Garrett Cox, just flying down the field, just trying to just launch his body in front of him so maybe the opening running lane could break through, but nonetheless, a great run in this Panthers' first drive. It's been really, really good.
you have to be really, really tough to stop this Washington running attack, considering you got Harlan as a blocker at fullback. And then you got Garrett Cox and Carter Prina, they're starting D-ends, who also double as tight ends as well, and they can lay the wood blocking as well. First and goal now from the 5. Glenwood fans shaking their cartons full of coins, but McQuery says, give me my money. A 5-yard touchdown run for the senior running back, and Washington strikes first with 8:07 to go here in the first quarter.
And really, you can't draw that up any better if you're Coach Crouch on the sideline for Washington. That's, like I said earlier in the drive, it's going to be their bread and butter. Give it to McQuery. They didn't even pass the ball a single time on that drive. Just turn it around, hand the ball off.
Flag here on the PAT, which Devin Mueller was about to accept. Yeah, you mentioned it, Owen. They just ran the ball every single play on that drive and almost as daring Glenwood to stop them. And really, I think the most dangerous part about that is, when they do decide to throw the ball, which might not be often, Glenwood's going to be expecting to run probably over 90% of the time here this afternoon. So now they'll back the PAT up. This will be about a 25-yard PAT from Devin Mueller, Washington sophomore kicker, who's a goalie on their soccer team. Kick is up, and it is strong. It is through the uprights, and Washington leads 7-0 just under 4 minutes through in this first quarter of action.
Now we're going to see the Titans take the offense again. And how they, respond after that opening drive touchdown given up to their defense is going to be crucial. Last week, I think it was starting the second half, they had a little adversity, the fumble and a punt, but they were able to bounce back from that. Can they bounce back here tonight?
We shall see again. This Glenwood team, been battle tested. They've played a very tough Central State 8 conference schedule and includes really good teams this past year, such as Decatur MacArthur, who had a phenomenal season, Sacred Heart Griffin. A little bit of a down year for them by their standards, but still always very good. Normal U-High had one of their best years in a long time. Then you have the top team in Class 4A in Rochester as well. So this Glenwood team has certainly seen some battles, and they came into the playoffs at 6-3. But I think what they and a lot of other teams around the state are proving is that the teams that are battle-tested the most they'll pay the most dividends in the playoffs.
Yeah, and we talked about their inexperience, but because of that battle tested, they kind of mature beyond their years, and that really, really helps them out right now at this stage of the playoffs.
Another low kick from Miller, fielded by an up man at the 25, hurdles the man and knocked down. He's spun down. Return was from Dwyer, the junior quarterback and running back. Brady Dwyer is kind of the Glenwood equivalent of Mason Burke on Washington. Owen, plays quarterback, can run the ball, also a kick returner as well, and similar field position from Glenwood now on their second drive of the game. Glenwood comes out with 2 wide receivers on the far side. Washington motioning for a false start. There wasn't. And the run up the middle is going absolutely nowhere. Stuffed at the line by the Washington front 4. Looks like Cox may have been the first one there.
I thought they were going to get him for the false start. It looked like a little movement from the tailback.
So a 0-yard gain on first down. I'll make it 2nd and 10. Not a cloud in the sky here in Chatham. Beautiful day for playoff football. Now we're going to pitch it over to Lanen, running to the far side. He's going to pick up a couple before he's thrown out to the sidelines by Jace Harlan. A nice little play there. They put Lanen in motion, running to the near side, some trickery, and was able to pick up a couple.
I love the misdirection. That was a neat play right there. Kind of divert attention away and see if you can break one on them. They're going to need that. Any explosive play they can find against this defense, it's going to be hard to come by.
And that was a key that we talked about for Washington before the game, with Glenwood wanting to throw the ball a lot. Their secondary has to be on their toes, including their safeties Tyler Brown, Mason Burke. Those are going to be 2 X factors, I think, for Washington here today. 3rd and 7. Now they put a man in motion. At his Phipps, Naylor evades the pocket, climbs, and he's wrapped up by Jace Harlan a couple yards before the sticks. Knaler almost evaded Washington's middle linebacker, but fell down at the 40. The line to gain was the 43, so they'll bring out the punt team for the Titans again.
Harlan did just enough to stop him before getting to the line of gain. Harlan, the leading tackler on this defense, with 69 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery.
That's a real nice season overall by the senior linebacker. Again, two-way player. He's been just one of those cornerstone players for Washington as Glenwood gets set to punt. Schwint standing at the 26, now boots it away, almost touched by Cox again, came flying in there. And Brayson Barth calls for the fair catch at the Washington 28, 6:38 to go here in the first quarter at Glenwood High School. Glad you're with us here on Clutch Sports Media. In case you're tuning in and wondering why our cameras aren't here, I announced earlier today on social media. Unfortunately, we had plans to do a video broadcast, and long story short, the henchmen at the NFHS network had other ideas, and we wanted to avoid litigation, so we didn't want to bring our cameras in here and try and skirt the rules too much. But just audio here today, but again, glad you're spending your Saturday afternoon with us. It's a great day here in Central Illinois. Jonathan Michael here alongside Owen Dimpfel. Heavy set for Washington. McQuery and Harlan in the backfield. They pitch to McQuery on the left side. He gains a couple, but only about 2 or 3, up to about the 33.
In the last drive, they ran every play, but almost all those runs came within like the inside zone in between the tackles. That time they pitched it outside. So wonder if maybe that Titan defense might stack up against the inside run, throw it outside to McQuery, see if he can get some space.
2nd and 6 now at the Washington 32-yard line. Again, just one wide receiver all by his lonesome. That's Brayson Barth on the near side. I'll hand it off to McQuery up the gut again, running behind O'Brien, the center. Not much doing there, so 3rd and 2 upcoming after a pickup of 3 or 4. I think anytime that Glenwood can get Washington in a 3rd down situation is probably a small victory for them.
Small victory, but 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 like it is right now, I mean, it's going to be really difficult to stop McQuery for 2 yards. Guy that just can run over tackles and get whatever he wants.
McQuery averages 8.7 yards per carry this year. Came into today with 1,570 yards. I do some quick math. He's probably nearing an entire mile in rushing yards this year. He'll add to that total here. He's close to the sticks, but got to the 40. Needed to get to the 38, and Washington will keep the drive alive here as we approach 5 minutes to go in the first quarter.
And it was a good job by the Titans defense. They fill gap right there to stop him right where he was, but 3rd and 2, it's just, very hard for a defense to stop a running back like McQuery.
Appreciate everyone tuning in on the chat, chatting up on the live chat as well. Again, the reason why you don't have any cameras here is McQuery runs on 1st down, pick up about 3, running to the left side again. NFHS Network has, now the thing is they have an exclusive agreement with the IHSA for these playoff games, and any game that is video streamed on the NFHS Network can only be streamed there, not on any other platforms like our website or ciproud.com like we had initially planned. So that was, let's say, a deal breaker for us, and so we just had to pivot to audio. Again, we apologize for the late switch, out of our control, but doing the best we can here in Glenwood as a flag flies before the snap. This may be a false start against the Panthers.
Yeah, and this could be, part of the victory for the Titans defense. After that run, it was looking like 2nd and 6, but 5-yard penalty. Now it's 2nd and 11. When we were talking about, getting to 3rd down against this Washington offense, it's going to have to start on 1st and 2nd down because you can't have too many 3rd and short situations. It's going to have to be 3rd and long where they're going to have to be really tested to get that 1st down. And maybe even go away from McQuery.
There you go, 2nd and 11, handoff to Harlan. No, it's a keeper by Humphrey. They faked out the Glenwood defensive line, and Humphrey was able to catch up to about the 48-yard line, tackled near the top left corner of the big red G at midfield. 3rd and 3 now, Panthers.
I think that play had a lot of Georgia Tech triple option to it. Kind of looked like, throwing it back to the good old NCAA 14 days using the triple read offense.
Interesting note about that is Washington gets set for their 3rd and 3. They do have a high school football game in the works as a video game. It's hopefully going to be released on Xbox and PlayStation. So keep an eye on it. I think it's just called Varsity or like Varsity Football. You should be able to like customize any team anywhere in the country and have like high schools in there and everything. I don't know if it's how realistic it will be as Washington calls a timeout here on 3rd and 3. But so if you're an NCAA football 14 fan, then you also like high school football as well. Good news is coming. That varsity football game, it looks like it's going to be quite the whole ordeal. I don't know about you, Owen, but I'm probably going to try and create every single team in the Peoria-Bloomington-Normal area once that game comes out.
Yeah, you could almost get a live stream Twitch going for Clutch Sports.
Oh, man. we could simulate the matchups for the day before the games. How about that?
Yeah, kind of almost like what the Madden simulations before the Super Bowls.
Certainly could be an option again. In case you're just tuning in, Washington leading 7-0 on the road at Glenwood. 3.5 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Kanon McQuery was the name of the game for Washington on their first drive. They didn't pass the ball at all, and he capped it off with a 5-yard touchdown run at the 8:07 mark. And the Panthers are driving again. Glenwood started to get a lot going on offense, and that's what we saw against Crete-Monee, Owen. Was, the Warriors were barely able to even cross midfield in the first half, and it was the same story for them in the second half, just never able to get it going.
Yeah, and, something that didn't work out for Crete-Monee last week was that, because of how tiresome that was of a first half, they just broke down in the second half. The biggest thing for the Titans today is they're going to have to play a full four-quarter game. So be it what happens in the first quarter. We gave up an opening drive touchdown. But you have to put all 4 quarters together, and you could have a chance in this one.
They actually played 5 quarters last week in their overtime win, and they've practiced overtime quite a bit. They've practiced this overtime situations the last 3 weeks. Plenty of football left to be played. Glenwood crowd gets loud as Humphrey is in the shotgun. Ball at the Washington 47. Hands off to McQuery running right. Trying to get a block, but he's going to be brought down. The first one there for Glenwood was Brock Pruitt, the senior safety, who happens to be the son of former Nebraska football player Brian Pruitt, a national champion with the Cornhuskers back in the 90s.
Yeah, 1994 Nebraska team, and that's a huge play right there by the Titans defense. 4th down stop. Looks like Washington can't quite tell if they're going to go for, or maybe they're bringing the punt team out.
Looked like at first that they might go for it, but they do bring their punter Joe Smith out. Smith averaging just over 28 yards per boot this year. He's a sophomore as well. And back deep to return is Grady Mueller from Glenwood. Low line drive punt, hops across the 30, and will come to rest right around there. So only about a 22-yard punt there. So that big play for Glenwood, that's massive for them because now they've got something to cheer about, something to give them momentum.
Yeah, cheer about is right. This crowd just erupted seeing McQuery get tackled at the line of scrimmage, and now you putting the offense back out there, little kind of momentum boost a little bit, see what they can do with it.
And this Glenwood team comes in with plenty of momentum, winning 3 games in a row. They lost in week 8 to Rochester, who I think is probably a favorite to win the Class 4A state title. Saw the Rockets back in week 1 against Peoria High, and my word, that's a good football team. But other than that, they've really played well since about late September, mid-October. Knaler drops back, and the shotgun is picked off by Carter Prina. He tipped it, and this will be 6 for Washington. The defense scores a touchdown for the 3rd straight week. Carter Prina, the junior DN, got his fingertips on it and took it in from about 25 yards out.
Carter Prina looking like TJ Watt out there with the deflection and retaking it himself for the touchdown. What a play. And you always got to love it when the big guys up front can get a defensive touchdown.
The big guys up front have scored so many touchdowns for Washington lately, Owen. It's almost unbelievable. Both Cox and Prina recovered fumbles for touchdowns against Danville 2 weeks ago, and then last week they also got another touchdown, or rather, I should say an interception from Noah Bell. They didn't get a touchdown defensively last week, but what a defensive line Washington has, and Miller's extra point is through. Washington is making a statement so far in the first quarter, leading 14-0, 2:32 to go here in the opening frame.
In Washington, they're already showing what I talked about earlier, the complementary football. Both 2 touchdowns now, one by the offense, one by the defense. When you play complementary football, chances are everything's going to work out in your favor.
And defense leading to offense, I know basketball season is coming up. It's actually, arguably, it's even here. We'll be heading back to the Bradley game against Utah State, their home opener right after this one. So basketball season right around the corner. But that's a phrase you hear a lot in basketball. You force a turnover, it leads to a fast break basket. Well, Carter Prina got a little bit of a fast break of his own right there, playing some basketball. Shout out to Washington basketball head coach Eric Schermerhorn, who I believe may be in the stands today over for the Panthers. But as that defense leading to offense, it makes Washington just so hard to stop. And that's so massive in the playoffs when not every possession is guaranteed. So it'll be Mueller to kick it away, going from left to right. Crowd here at Glenwood slightly stunned, but again, they know this team can be resilient and come back. Kick near the sidelines, but picked up near the 10 by Mueller. He tight ropes up across the 25 to the 30 before he's pushed out. So first they start at the 37, they start their second drive at 33. This one will start at the 30.
It's a decent return by Nick Mueller, but in my opinion, that ball was looking like it was going to go out of bounds. He could have got the free kick penalty for it. All you got to do is just take your body out of bounds and then just touch the football, and it's an automatic penalty. So just one of those IQ plays, you'd like to see from your players.
Oh, my football IQ must not be very high because I would have never thought of that, Owen. I didn't know that was that was a thing, but obviously you played football, so you know. So 4 wide receivers for Colton Knadler, again, the sophomore quarterback for Glenwood. Young, and there's a missed. The ball hit the man in motion on the snap, Gavin Simmons, and it looks like Glenwood did fall on it. But they just snapped it at just the wrong time. It hit Simmons, and Washington almost recovered.
That's the one thing that you really run the risk of when you get so much motion going on in your backfield. The timing of the snap is so important in that time. They just about had back-to-back turnovers on back-to-back plays.
So they'll go with this snap with no one in the backfield. 5 wide receivers, 2nd and 12. From the 27, Knadler drops back, and it's nowhere near Glenwood receiver. Try to get that one out quick to either Lanin or Zach Phipps in the direction of both of them, but neither one of them were looking at the ball.
And once again, Garrett Cox and Carter Prina just right there. The offensive tackles just didn't have any answer for that pass rush right there. And I think it's important to note that Glenwood is missing that their starting left tackle. Is that Noah Helm?
They do have a Division I left tackle.
Oh, Mark Helm.
Yep, Mark Helm, one of their offensive linemen. A lot of injuries for this Glenwood team.
Yeah, they've had 7 different offensive line combos in the past 10 games, so that could be another issue.
But again, they've reached the quarterfinals, so I think that says more about them than having those injuries. 3rd down pass is up the middle, and no one is there. Incomplete. It'll be another punt, the 3rd of the quarter for Glenwood. And boy, Owen, if Washington could get the ball here and score, that is 3 straight gut punches to the Titans here in the quarterfinals.
It just feels like nothing is going right, nor will it's like opening to go right. I mean, guys, on that last screen pass, none of the receivers were looking at the ball. No one was ready for it. And you just got to really wonder, can they get back onto the mental side of this game, which Coach Hay preached last week, that they kept a level head in that overtime win.
It really did. As the punt is away, it's a high boot that's going to bounce just before the 50, but take a Glenwood roll now inside the 40 to 35. That one got a really good roll. It only went about 21 yards in the air, but picked up about another 18 on the ground. So Washington will start their drive here with 1:38 left in the first quarter from their own 34.
Yeah, this is just big drive you feel like coming up for both. I mean, the Panthers offense and the Titans defense, more so for the Titans defense. But I feel like the Washington sideline feels like if they can score here, they can really start to put the pedal down for the rest of this game.
They certainly can. They put, Glenwood again so early in this game, and we saw what happened last week again between Glenwood and Richards. If you either read about that game, watched it, maybe you were even there at that game, That had to have been one of the best high school football games that anyone there would have ever seen. What a comeback win for the Titans, but they're in trouble here at home against Washington. First on a handoff goes to McQuery running to the left side, only pick up of about 3 or so. First line of defense was able to get him. I believe that was Scott.
Yeah, I mean, looks like he got about 4 yards on that play. And really, if you're talking to your offensive line, if you can get 4 yards every play, that's going to result in the first down every 4 plays. 4 yards, that's what our 8th grade football coach told us. 4 yards every time, you're going to get us a first down.
Doesn't have to be the big plays. Washington just marches methodically down the field. It's now 2nd and 5 officially from their own 38. Pitch right to McQuery. He cuts up field across the 40, down the 45. He gets past some traffic, is out all the way down to the Glenwood 36, or 37 rather. How about McQuery just so patient running to the right side, waited for his blocks. They came, and he was able to just finish it off with some speed and gain an extra 10 to 12 yards.
That's a textbook run right there from a running back. And really the ball security towards the end of the play, I saw that Brock Pruitt from the Titans defense really tried to nab at that ball towards the end of the play, but McQuery doing a great job putting his second hand to cover up that ball.
Probably the last play of the first quarter incoming, and surprises another handoff up to McQuery. Spins around a man, hurdles another one at the 20. He's free down the far side. He's running toward the end zone. He's got it. A highlight reel touchdown for Kanon McQuery, but there's a flag in the backfield. We'll see if this is coming back.
Ooh, this could be a backbreaker for the Panthers. Usually with that spot of the foul, you got to feel that it's a holding.
It is a hold against Washington, so take away the touchdown. What a run, though, from McQuery. As soon as his hands touched the football, he did a full 360, spun out of a tackle, then he hurdled another man about near the 30-yard line, then had the wherewithal to take the right angle to the corner of the end zone and have finished off with that speed that he has. Again, blending speed and toughness. That's Kanon McQuery for you, but that one is coming back. And it'll see where they're going to spot this one. It'll be at the 47, so it'll be 1st and 20 now for the Panthers. 28 seconds left in the first quarter.
You know, I think if McQuery wanted to put a highlight film together about all of his great traits, that one play pretty much highlighted everything. The shiftiness, the elusiveness, the speed, running through tackles. It was all highlighted right there.
I'll go to Harlan here up the middle. We'll get to about the 44, 43-yard line or so. So I'll make it second and a bit more manageable. Is now under 20 seconds. Washington is probably going to go this entire first quarter without throwing the ball, but who needs to pass? When you have guys like McQuery, Harlan, Tyler Humphrey can run it as well, and a strong offensive line that's been really big in the first quarter.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. One of the old-time sayings.
That will be the end of the first quarter. Time has expired, and Washington leads 14-0 on the road against the number 6 seed in Class 6A, the Glenwood Titans. And is now at about the 25-yard line, the Glenwood girls cross-country team being honored on the field. They won state in Class 2A at Detweiler Park last week. I was there covering the Peoria area teams. Washington's cross-country teams had a phenomenal run as well. Girls finished 4th, boys finished in the top 15. Wrote a feature story on the Panthers cross-country teams. It's now on Clutch Sports Media Overtime, our news site for all of our written content. Subscribe today, get all sorts of news, feature stories, and much more. Basketball content coming soon on the way as well, and we're going to have tons of that once the season gets started. But Glenwood also, football tradition, but also good in other athletics as well. I think these two programs are very similar in that regard.
Yeah, two schools that really like to highlight, the athletic programs that they offer.
Certainly helps when both of them are good. His first play of the second quarter is a keeper from Humphrey who picks up a couple. It'll be 3rd and medium, 3rd and 8 now for Washington on Glenwood's 35. Glenwood, I feel like they kind of need to get a stop here.
Yeah, you're not going to not too many times you're going to have a third and medium long situation like this where you're not sure if the Panthers are going to run the ball. You know, this could be a chance for the first pass play of the game.
It could be. Washington only passed 3 times last week. It completed one of them. It was a screen pass to McQuery, who took it 38 yards to the house. They'll instead hand it off to McQuery this time, and he'll run right before he is wrapped up. Looks like A.J. Ferguson, the nose tackle, got in on there, and that'll make it 4th down. Panthers feel like they might go for it, Owen.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to talk about that no man's land in high school football where, you know, it's a little too close to punt. Definitely too long for a field goal. Might as well just go for it, especially when you got the skill players on this offense like the Panthers do.
They're going to have a little bit of a personnel change. However, Smith not on the field. He's their normal punter. Humphrey in at quarterback. McQuery to his left. Ian Nettles at wide receiver. They're going to pass here on 4th and 5. Humphrey was looking for Nettles, and instead he's got Barth for the first down inside the 20. Barth ran the slant route perfectly, and Humphrey had great protection with enough time to throw.
That play, I mean, highlighted the offensive line kind of blocking in this game. First pass play for the Panthers, and Humphrey had forever plus more to throw that ball, find an open receiver. On the other side, Knadler just hasn't had that kind of time.
It's been a big difference so far is how well the offensive lines have been. We'll see if Humphrey decides to pass again. Nope, it'll be a draw play to McQuery. Gets past the first wave of tacklers, but tripped up at the 15. Pick up of about 4 or 5. That'll make it 2nd and medium.
Humphrey, I mean, he hasn't thrown the ball that much this year, but when he has, he's certainly been effective. I think you told me that before the game, like out of the last 20 pass attempts, I mean, 5 touchdowns have been in there. So that's, you know, pretty good ratio for touchdown to pass attempt.
I think any quarterback at any level would be pretty happy to throw a touchdown every 4 pass attempts. Again, not just completions, attempts as well. They run an option play to McQuery, who is going to be wrapped up at the 14 or 15-yard line. Short gain there, and it was Pruitt, again, making the big tackle for Glenwood.
Pruitt did a great job right there, kind of just getting low and wrapping up, not allowing McQuery to kind of run through that tackle like he has been in the first quarter.
I was going to say, if you try and tackle Kaden McQuery above the waist, good luck. He'll probably try and run through that. McQuery, also a lacrosse player as well. Maybe not the sport you expect to have the most maybe tough, you know, burly guys in, but it does require some physicality. McQuery, a star on the Panthers lacrosse team.
Yeah, 100 goals.
Indeed, 3rd and 4 now as flags fly before the snap, and the Panthers marching back. Looks like they know that it'll be a false start. That's the second one of the game for them. So, again, that's something that head coach Darryl Crouch, you know, certainly doesn't want to see. You know, don't want your team moving backwards. Don't want to make things any easier for Glenwood, but we'll see how they respond. Again, that 4th down conversion was big, and if they do go for it again, they have 2 downs to get this now on 3rd and 9.
Yeah, I mean, so far they had the 2 false starts, and you really just don't want the snowball effect taking place with that, where it's kind of, you know.
4 wide receivers here. They pass to Barth again, who's now inside the 10. That should be a first down, or if not very close to it, and it is a first down for Brayson Barth, who came in as Washington's leading receiver, came in with 10 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. He's already got 20% of his season output of catches just on this drive.
Yeah, it says a lot about that pass offense.
Barth, a senior wide receiver. His dad is the football coach at Eureka College. His mom is the girls basketball coach at Washington. They hand off to McQuery from the 9-yard line and runs into a scrum of bodies. Pick up of about 3 or 4. They'll make it 2nd and goal from the 6.
See Coach Hay kind of barking at his defense from the sideline, really wanting a goal line stop. And, you know, one thing I really noticed, you know, prepping for this game is the coaching experience on both sidelines. Both these coaches just know their programs in and out. For Coach Hayes, he's been here for the past 30 years and 32 years total in high school coaching. And Crouch for 19 years at Washington. So 2 guys that are really going to know how to, you know, handle these situations.
2nd and goal, handoff to McQuery. He's going nowhere. Loss of 5 in the backfield. That was Cole Prost making the big stop for Glenwood, and boy, they needed that one.
That's a big play right there by Prost. Now another third down. Can they get out of it is another question.
And again, at this point, they are in field goal range if they did want to try that again. 3rd and goal now from the 11. You mentioned the coaching experience. Again, Crouch his last season at Washington for 19 years, but been around much longer than that. Is coaching high school. Hay been coaching for over 3 decades. Both these teams haven't played each other very much, which is surprising. Humphrey rolls out to pass. Looking on the far side, it's a touchdown, Washington. James Johnson, the sophomore wideout, from 11 yards out, and Washington leads by 3 scores.
Yeah, James Johnson getting his 3rd touchdown catch of the season, and that's just a huge red zone target right there. All 6'5" of them. Makes him a very easy target for Tyler Humphrey to find in the end zone.
Humphrey was rolling out right, and then Johnson was able to find the open spot just past the pylon, and he found him in the far corner, and that's Johnson's 3rd touchdown of the year and just 8 receptions. Mueller's PAT is not exactly a big booming kick, but it gets through the uprights, and Washington now leads 21-0 over the Glenwood Titans. And Owen, I think you'd be hard-pressed to see many games across the state that would be 21-0 games, at least early on. Washington been very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, just every aspect of this game, they've been really impressive. Offensively, defensively, special teams, they've been able to get it done. One thing that, I've noticed from their special teams is on the punt coverage. So they forced Glenwood to punt 3 or 4 times, I believe, right now. Each and every time, there's been like 2 or 3 guys right there just about to block it. Like each time, I was waiting for that punt to be blocked. So they're really doing a good job there on special teams as well as on offense and defense.
It's been a 3-phase clinic for Washington so far, putting Glenwood in a tough spot. 7:02 to go here in the second quarter. How about this, Owen? We saw the other game going on in Class 6A. Whoever the winner of this game will face. East St. Louis, the Mighty Flyers, are in a battle with Kankakee right now. East St. Louis leads 12-7 at halftime. If Kankakee can win that game, that'd be a rematch of Washington's game against them in week 2 as the kick is away. Takes a bounce and will be picked up at the 10-yard line. Out across the 30, and this could be a big return. Tackle at the 38. Nice job by the Glenwood return. That was Mueller again. Give Titans good field position, but we were talking in the car on the way down here, Owen, and I said, I think one of the only teams in the state that can beat East St. Louis, I think either of these teams could have a chance against them, but I think Kankakee matches up with the Flyers probably the best.
Yeah, I mean, we're too busy doing this great game, but, man, if you're over there to watch that great, high school football game going on over there.
East St. Louis, the reigning Class 6A state champions. Kankakee always dangerous as well. Spent most of the year ranked number 2 in the state behind East St. Louis in the AP poll. First down play, and Jays Harlan is in the backfield doing his business as usual. Tackle for a loss there. Now make it 2nd and 12.
The Bulldog once again just in there. And, I'm really curious to see if the Titans are going to try and, run the ball, see if they can find something right there. Because right now the passing game is not with that pressure and, guys not looking for passes. So, really, they're just going to try and scrape the bottom of the barrel, just find something that can work for them.
Ball on the Glenwood 37. Canelo drops back. He's being chased in the pocket. On the run. Looks to throw. Nice completion. Mason Burke was in coverage, but on the reception, that was Gavin Simmons, the junior who plays a bit of running back and wide receiver. He had 10 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns last week.
It's always interesting when you see your running back lead the team in receptions, as it is for Gavin Simmons. And on that last play, what I really liked is that bootleg. Get your quarterback out of the pocket. Give him some time to deliver that to the receiver.
Is Dwyer in the backfield again? He's technically their backup quarterback, but he's switched to running back with all of the Titans' injuries. He'll get the carry here. No, it's fumbled by Canelo, who falls on at the 42. But on 3rd and 1, that's not what you need if you're the Titans after a big completion on 2nd down.
Man, I mean, it's just like the mental errors are just adding up right now for the Titans. You got to have a clean exchange on that, mesh play-action play right there. Yeah, that's just a backbreaker right there. 3rd and 1, you're looking like, okay, 1 yard, feel confident that you can get it. now backed up to a 4th and 5 makes just things a whole lot difficult.
And David Hay will call a timeout for Glenwood. Probably a pretty good call with 5:04 left in the second quarter. You feel like, you really want to score on this drive or at least see something positive out of your offense, just like that bootleg pass from Knadler to Simmons. But again, if you don't get this, you give Washington the ball in your own territory, 42 yards to reach the end zone. You haven't stopped him yet so far today.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point in this game with the score being 21-0. Their offense hasn't done much, but their defense hasn't really stopped the Panthers' offense much either. So you feel like you're just going to punt it over to them. You're just kind of giving them the extra possession when, who knows how many more possessions that you have in this game where you're within the reach of coming back.
3-score game right now. You don't really want to let it become a 4-score game. That's when That's when Mount Kilimanjaro becomes Mount Everest at that point. And, it's tough to see a team come back from 4 scores, although you never know with this Glenwood team. It's never say die. Got the support of their home crowd behind them. Again, beautiful day here at Glenwood High School. They put Dwyer in motion. He moves out to the outside. This will be a pass. Knadler rolling out, finds Dwyer in the flat, and he bulls over Harlan. You don't see that too often. Out to the 50. Actually think he knocked over Andre Lewis rather instead of Harlan, but a first down for Glenwood. Great play call there in the timeout from Hay.
Yeah, that's a player right there that he doesn't care about the score right now. He's just going to give it his all, give his 100% effort, and I think that play right there can, maybe lift up some of his teammates on the sideline saying, hey, he's going to go all out. Might as well, return the favor.
Glenwood gets the big first down, and again, those are hard to come by. They came at a premium against this Washington defense. 5 wide receivers for Knadler. Driving back, has a ton of pressure. It's picked off. No! Bell had it in his hands and just thought about it too much and fumbled it. For lack of a better term, it'll be called an incomplete pass, I believe. But that was right in the breadbasket of Noah Bell, who's had 2 interceptions this year, including 1 last week.
As a defensive tackle, you're not really working too much on your pass-catching ability, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. But, man, just another potential turnover by this front 7. And, what I see a lot in this front 7 is like the old Minnesota Vikings defense, the purple people eaters.
And again, Knadler pressure from Cox, but he gets it out to the outside. Pick up about 10. Pass complete. That was to Dylan Huff, another wide receiver for Glenwood. We've seen a lot of wide receivers get in the mix so far today. Oh, and again, you got Simmons, you got Zach Phipps, Grady Mueller, Dylan Huff, Ian Holmeyer, Mason Newman as well. Newman's at 6'7", so no shortage of options for Knadler to throw to.
Yeah, pick your poison about which athlete you want to get the ball to, but, it's really not much of a difference if quarterback doesn't have much time to get them the ball.
And I got to give credit to Knadler. Again, Garrett Cox has been coming with pressure off the edge almost every single play, seemingly, and he's still been able to get it out. Another 5 wide receiver set, Layden in motion, and play is blown dead. I don't see a flag on the field, rather a timeout called on the Glenwood sideline. 4:25 to go here in the second quarter. Glenwood has the ball on Washington's 39.
And really the, few pass plays that they have success on this drive has been when they've gotten Knadler out of the pocket, just running out. And really, if you're a coach, you don't want your quarterback always throwing on the run because, it can lead to inaccurate passes. But right now, it might be your only option because when he's been in the pocket, he hasn't been able to have time to do anything. He can't even look at the defense and see what's available to him.
The Glenwood defense last week, Oakland Richards was a team that blitzed a lot. And the Glenwood offensive line played a really good game, was able to keep Knadler upright for most of it, give him lots of time to throw. It's been a different story so far here this afternoon, as Knadler's been under duress, hasn't taken any sacks yet, and had that interception that was returned by Carter Prina for a touchdown, although that was off of a tipped pass. But again, big game for the sophomore, and he'll have to respond down 21-0. 1st and 10 from the 39. 4 wide receivers for him. They'll hand off to Dwyer. Noah play actually has tipped again by Washington's D-line. That was either Prina or Bell that got their paws on it.
Yeah, another tip pass. It's just been a lot of trouble. Disruption. that time they went back to that kind of mesh play action, and he was able to hold on to the ball this time, but still that defense right there to make a play on it.
Darryl Crouch for Washington's a defensive guy. And you take a look at him, and you know that he used to be a lineman for sure, and he's, obviously it must be taught in Washington that, every time the quarterback throws the ball, get your hands up in the air. There's been so many deflections they've had. Taylor driving back, finding a wide open man over the middle. That's Gavin Simmons, and no one was back there for Washington, and Glenwood gets their first touchdown of the game. A big pass from sophomore to junior.
Yeah, that play just injects life into the sideline, this stands right here for Glenwood, and that was a big one, but still have a big mountain to climb ahead of them, but definitely feels a lot better now that something worked.
Big touchdown from Knadler to Simmons, and now here is Glenwood's female kicker, Mia Gerger, out for the extra point. She's automatic. Think of Pekin Smiley Hansen. If you're a Washington fan, that's what Glenwood have. Their version of her, and her PAT is through. So as a massive touchdown for Glenwood now, Owen. Not only do you draw close on the scoreboard, but you gain some more momentum heading into the halftime locker room.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it feels so much different. Prior to that play, very quiet around here, but now you get to hear them like cartons with the coins in it, whatever it may be. Yeah, they just want something to cheer about. They want to help this team on the field in any way that they can. And that time it felt like, okay, now we have something to cheer about. Let's go.
Gotta say, those coins in the cartons are pretty unique, and I really do like them. I mean, you don't see it too often, and it's a way to get your crowd riled up, and I think it's a little bit of a more tolerable sound than maybe a bunch of cowbells, for example.
Right.
We're not at Mississippi State.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about the, playoff landscape. We get to this time of year, we get to travel away from the Peoria region where we're used to. We get to see new things like a berm, like these noisemakers, whatever they may be, different schools, and so it's always fun to just travel to branch out, see what everything else has to offer.
Certainly agree. Again, Central State 8, a very good conference in football, and we've seen a couple of their teams so far this year. We've seen Rochester and MacArthur already on CSM. Here's Ian Nettles to return the kick for Washington. Received at the 5-yard line, but he's out across the 25. Now gets pushed out near the 30. Could have been a big stop for Glenwood on special teams, but Nettles was able to find a pathway to get out to respectable field position.
Yeah, good return from the young kid. But now we see the Titans defense, and they've had a stop. They had the third down stop 2 drives ago. If they can get one here, I mean, this could really, flip the script in this one heading into halftime.
Washington scored 3 straight touchdowns. McQuery on the ground, Prina the pick 6 and the 8-yard touchdown pass to James Johnson, but Glenwood has responded after 35-yard touchdown pitch and catch from Colton Knadler to Gavin Simmons. Washington goes handoff to McQuery, running to right, and he's appended by number 22 of Glenwood. That's Becklin Anderson at DB.
I'm surprised that run didn't go for more. They had, a nice pulling guard right there, had a convoy ahead of them. But a great job on the tackle right there. Go low, take him out at his legs, which is, where his power comes from.
That was probably a point of emphasis in the Glenwood practices. You got to tackle low this week because McQuery's a tough back to bring down. East St. Louis leading Kankakee now 18-7, 8:58 left to go in the third quarter. McQuery up the middle, got a first down to the 40-yard line. That was a keeper from Tyler Humphrey. Humphrey is pretty mobile quarterback on the ground and came into today with over 300 rushing yards. He's the most balanced of Washington's 3 quarterbacks that carry on their roster alongside Basin Burke and Madden Mendoza.
Humphrey, a baseball player as well. I kind of recognized some of these names when I did one of their broadcasts in the spring.
Lots of multi-sport athletes there, but Glenwood's athletes bring down McQuery for a short gain, maybe one if we're being generous. Under 3 minutes to go here in quarter number 2. Kankakee, what do you know, responds with a touchdown right back. It's 18-13. East St. Louis leading with 7:01 to go in the third quarter. That game being played at Kankakee. Washington, if they win, will host regardless of their opponent next week. Humphrey on the design quarterback keeper. High snap, but he's able to keep it going up to midfield exactly right smack dab in the middle of the field. That'll bring up a third and very short.
Yeah, that ball planted right at the middle of the G right there. And here's your chance if you're the Titans defense, 3rd and 1. Make a play right here, and who knows where this game could lead heading into halftime. It's going to be difficult, but you got the players and the dogs on defense to go make a play.
Approaching 2 minutes, and they do have one timeout. It would be big if the Titans could get the ball back and potentially score. It'll be Humphrey on the keeper. He's got some wide open space on the near side, out across the 40, tackled across the 35. Tackle made there by Prost, but a pickup of 16 on 3rd and 1. That's why you just can't put Washington in these 3rd and short situations, because they run the ball like that on almost every other play at least.
It's almost a guarantee to get a yard. You know, you kind of think of it with like Philadelphia Eagles, the tush push. It's almost a guaranteed yard play. You know, they don't quite, go in that formation with the QB sneak, but essentially they're getting the yardage no matter what.
So now it'll be 1st and 10 at the 33. That's a big play for Washington, because now they feel like they're now in control of the game and of the tempo. Heavy set, handoff to McQuery up the middle. He's through the first wave, almost breaks it through to the end zone, but tackled at the 20-yard line. Minute 19 to go. Clock will stop momentarily for the first down.
McQuery is so dangerous when he gets into that secondary, and that's why it's a huge point of emphasis right there at the line of scrimmage to do what you can to stop him on that play. It was just a whole lot of arm tackling, and that's just not going to get the job done.
And Daryl Crouch said that, Glenwood will bring a 3-4 front, but they may switch to 4-4. They do bring 4 linemen here. McQuery is met. The first man to touch him for Glenwood was Theo Blackston, one of their linebackers, but McQuery was able to plow forward and get an extra 5 or so yards. And the Panthers and Daryl Crouch will call timeout with 45 seconds to go before the half. Ball on Glenwood's 14-yard line and a 2nd and 5.
You mentioned Blackson. He had a huge fumble recovery for a touchdown last week against Richards.
The defensive unit, for Glenwood, Owen, we talked with head coach David Hay before this game, and he said, even though we are a little bit more inexperienced than some teams, that we do have our most experience on the offensive line and on defense. And you look at their starters again. You got Hay and Scott. Justin Hay, I should say. Not the head coach is out playing defensive end. Don't get confused there. Justin Hay, who is Glenwood's head coach's son, at defensive end alongside Dalton Scott. They're both seniors. Blackston is a senior alongside Luke Leahy at linebacker, but an impact player for the Titans this year. And then in the secondary, you got Tyson Dunbar, Brock Pruitt, George Caples, Lucas Jacobs, all starters. They're seniors as well. So this is an experienced Glenwood defensive unit. And obviously at this point in the playoffs, you gotta wonder if they're playing with that pressure of, we gotta keep them out of the end zone because I want to play another week of high school football.
And that's the goal. It's each week. Get the win, see next week. You want to see another play of your high school career. You want to see another day with all your brothers on the field. You want to see another day with your coaches. You never, ever want to see that get cut shortly.
So this defense will have to step up on 2nd and 5. Hand off to McQuery. He's patient with the run. Now across the 10, breaks one tackle. He's brought down near the 4 or 5 yard line. That's what we've seen from McQuery all day long. He's finds so much space off the tackles, sidesteps people, and then by the time that they are actually able to bring him down, he's getting an extra 2-3 yards. 1st and 5, they hand off to Hunter Reed, who's got a touchdown in 2 straight weeks, and he is in. He was close to getting it, but looks like there's a flag on the play, thrown back into the 17-yard line, and that may go against Washington. Sideline warning issued to Glenwood for their coach for being on the field, and with where that flag was on the field, I had to wonder it was something unique. And so the touchdown for Hunter Reed will stand, a 5-yard scoring run, and Washington can make this they have made it a 3-possession game, but Mueller can make it A 21-point lead with the PAT, which is up, and it is good. As a massive touchdown for the visiting Panthers, Hunter Reed scores a touchdown for the third straight week on his first carry of the game. 26 seconds left to go here before the half.
Yeah, I saw kind of with that penalty, the coach David Hay just showing his frustration right there, just giving his headset a good chuck right there, and that's going to draw a penalty every time for, sideline. And, it is frustrating, being in a spot right now down 28-7, about to go into halftime, but you really don't want to show your players – well, I mean, I guess yes and no. You don't want to show your players that frustration because, it's like almost like it casting doubt. But then on the flip side, I guess, it fires them up. It can energize them like, okay, we don't want to see our coach upset like that. Let's make a difference. So, it could take it for what you want with it.
That was one of the first times that we've heard a referee who's had a working microphone that the entire stadium could hear. I know some other places try to implement it, give referees, the microphone so people can hear the calls, and that one came through loud and clear. We were able to figure out what that one was.
Yeah, I really like that. And it's like this place has really kind of brought almost like a small college atmosphere. The tailgating in the parking lot, both teams, and just a great environment, beautiful day.
Kickoff return here by Dwyer. He bounced off of one man and ran laterally, but was brought down to the 31. Jace Harlan and Ethan Schofield in on the tackle for Washington. So now Glenwood has the ball at their own about 31, 32-yard line. 19.8 seconds left to go. So they'd probably need at least one really long pass play to get within scoring position.
Yeah, I really doubt they're going to be too aggressive with this. Just 19 seconds. They're probably just going to cut their loss and go into halftime and just try their best to make some adjustments in this one.
They do go trips receivers right, Lanin in motion, moving to the far side. Naylor dropping back under duress, looking to throw. Got a man near the 50-yard line. And that one, for the first time today, we call Mason Newman's name, the 6'7" junior who also plays basketball.
Great play on that one. Stepping up in the pocket, keeping poise right there, and finding a receiver. And I guess now with 13 seconds at midfield, you have a chance to, Canedo's got a strong arm on him, and maybe he can launch it to the end zone. It's just whether he's going to have enough time to get that throw off, I think.
That's been the major question again. Cox and Prina have just been absolute dogs off the edge for Washington here this afternoon. It's been that way all season for them. If you follow Washington football, you're probably not too surprised to see that. But it made things tough on Knadler. And give the sophomore credit. He's stepped up big. Sophomore playing his first quarterfinal game, playing against a team that was ranked number 2 or 3 in the state all season long in Class 6A, and he's been able to keep his team at least somewhat in the ball game here. Can maybe the big throw maybe draw him closer. 13.3 seconds left to go. Ball on Glenwood's own 49. Pass across the middle is brought in, and absolutely laying the wood was Owen Blackerby from the defensive back spot. Receiver is okay, and the clock stops for the first down. 10.4. They may need to spike it. No, they're going to go for it all here, and going for the sideline. Naylor looking for Newman. There's a flag down in the backfield after the incompletion.
I wonder if they're going to get roughing the passer.
Hit to the head by Washington. I believe that may have been Prina, if I'm not mistaken, that came in. So that'll give Glenwood an extra 15 with 4.5 to go. And now you look at it as maybe a 30, 40 or so yard pass to the end zone. Now it's much more manageable for the Titans.
Yeah, this is great where you have a 6'7" receiver. Send them all out, go to the end zone, and if you're Canadian, just go lob that ball up and let them have a chance to go make a play.
Washington in zone coverage, but I got to keep an eye on Knadler. He's at the far side of the field, and the man in motion is Simmons. He caught the first touchdown pass earlier. Knadler looking for Newman, the 6'7" target, and he overthrew him. Looked like that was Andre Lewis in coverage. I don't know if he would have been tall enough to tip that ball, but there is 1.4 seconds left to go on the clock. Glenwood will get another crack at it from their own 21. Or Glenwood's 20, or Washington's 21 rather, excuse me.
Yeah, it seems really hard to overthrow a 6'7" receiver.
got to put it in a place where no one else can get it, and he certainly did, just a bit too high for Newman. And it looks like Glenwood is going for a field goal. This would be about a 38-yarder, and this is not Mia Gerger. This is Tristan Schwint, their sophomore kicker who handles the kickoffs. To make it a 28-10 ball game, the kick is up. It has enough leg, and it's good. A 38-yard boot by Tristan Schwint gives Glenwood another score before the half, but it's still a 3-score ball game as we hit halftime in Chatham. It's Washington 28, Glenwood 10. Panthers feeling good after the first half of play, Owen.
And that drive, I mean, when they took the field, I was saying how, they're not going to be, too aggressive, probably just, cut their loss going to halftime. And great drive right there just to get some points on the board. That's a huge, huge difference maker going into halftime. It kind of just builds a little self-esteem. Like, hey, we can do this. We scored 10 points. We can, start putting drives together, get some stops on defense, and this can all add up for, a potential comeback victory. It's going to be very hard. We both know that. Everybody in the stadium knows that. But that drive just boosted a little bit of confidence into them, and I think Washington's going to have to be ready coming out or, don't want nothing to slip past them.
And the big news is that Glenwood will get the ball to receive the second half. So when you can, compound those scoring drives like that, you guys get a field goal there. You don't get a touchdown, but at least you get something. And then you come out, they can get another touchdown or a field goal in the start of the third quarter. I can really put the ball game on a different trajectory, but, really ultimately I think it comes down to their defense, and they're going to have to find an answer for Kaden McQuery and the Washington run game because they haven't been able to stop them hardly at all here today.
Yeah, that's just been their kryptonite all game today, just not being able to stop him, nor, really the other rushers in this game. Hunter Reed, he had a rushing touchdown. Tyler Humphrey on just quarterback keepers or read options, he's been able to take and get good chunks of yards himself. So that run game is just going to be so difficult to, get past. But that's going to have to be where they start if they want to see themselves back in this game.
Certainly, and, for Washington, Owen, that first quarter they didn't throw the ball once. But in that second quarter, they threw the ball a couple times. They had those 2 big completions to Barth in Glenwood territory. Then they ended the drive, that same drive, with a touchdown pass to James Johnson as well. So they've been able to mix it up a little bit more. I know, I'm curious to see what you think, if they will continue that in the second half or if they will go back to what they did in the first quarter and just run up the gut and say, we're going to do this until you stop us.
I think it's going to be very similar to the first quarter. They're going to just run it up the gut, see if you can stop it. But, that's really what they did for the most of the first half anyway. When they did pass, it was just kind of like, okay, let's see if we can, catch them sleeping, in which they did. So they're still going to pass the ball in the second half, but it's going to be about, 2 or 3 times like they did in the first half. It's going to be a lot of run still.
That's been the winning recipe for Washington all season long. Run the ball well and play some amazing defense. They have done that so far, leading 28-10, the 2-seeded Panthers over the 6-seeded Glenwood Titans. We're at halftime here, and again, no really ad or sponsor breaks due to our last-minute pivot to audio. Again, thanks to the NFHS Network, a sarcastic thank you. We'll add. We wish you could be here and bring our cameras in, but exclusivity agreement between them and the IHSA, and we're just on audio here today on ClutchSportsIL.com. But glad you're with us. Let's take a look at some scores here around the entire state. In Class 6A, we already have a final in the northern bracket between Lake Zurich and Belvedere North. Lake Zurich, who's normally a 7A team, but now 6A this year, won 14-10, a close one against Belvedere North. So they will await the winner of Geneva and Cary Grove on the northern bracket in Class 6A. So either East St. Louis, Kankakee, Washington, or Glenwood has a potential to face them. Again, East St. Louis and Kankakee, the Flyers lead 18-13 over the K's, but boy, that is going to be, again, it's going to come down to the wire. I believe that the Flyers just recovered a blocked punt, it appears. So momentum still on East St. Louis's side. Look at some of the scores around the area. Local team, maybe for Central Illinois, Bloomington Central Catholic. They trail Maroa Forsyth 21-3 at halftime. Saints undefeated on the year, but so is Maroa Forsyth, and the Saints will need an answer in the second half to keep their season going. Looking elsewhere across the state, Normal Community and Glenbard East, the Ironmen trailed 21-14 in the second quarter with 5 minutes to go. So that game pretty close up near the Chicago suburbs. That one worth keeping an eye on, especially for our Central Illinois area viewers. And Roxana in Class 3A putting a beat down on Olympia in the first half, 28-6. The Shells lead the Olympia Spartans. So those are every other area team in our coverage area, Olympia, Normal Community, and Bloomington Central Catholic. They're all trailing right now, but Washington standing above them all. And I think we kind of knew that coming into the season, though, when they were the preseason pick, I think, to win the Mid-Illini, and everyone kind of knew coming into the season how good they'd be, and they've lived up to the expectation.
Yeah, they had a solid season last year, but definitely, once they turned the page into the off season last summer, looking ahead into what they could have had this year, I mean, it was kind of like the story was starting to write itself. All the great players returning to the team: McQuery, Garrett Cox, Tyler Humphrey, you name it. I mean, every player on this team has a great impact for the Panthers, and so it was an easy choice for this team to kind of stand out above all others in the Peoria region.
For maybe any of Central State 8 fans out there, Rochester is playing today in the 4A quarterfinals. They'll take on Bree Central, a game slated to start at 4 p.m. How about this score again? This is down in Class 1A. Can't imagine too many 1A enthusiasts out there, but you never know. Maybe you're just like me and you just like watching football across the state. Chicago Hope Academy is beating Rova 57-7 in the fourth quarter. Not really a score you expect to see in the quarterfinals, but it happens sometimes. And Chicago Hope Academy in Class 1A putting a beat down. They'll be moving on to the semifinals. And other somewhat Central Illinois scores. Princeton in Class 3A is trailing Lombard Montini 27-9 in the fourth quarter. Looks like Princeton's season is about to come to an end with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. In Class 5A, you have Nazareth Academy. They lead Mundelein Carmel 14-7. How about Nazareth, Owen? Getting in the playoffs at 4-5, because there wasn't a 5-4 teams across the state to qualify, and now they're in the quarterfinals and leading Carmel, and that's a team that was 5-4 coming into 5A last year, and they won the state title. So Nazareth is just doing Nazareth things, don't have a great regular season record, then turn it on in the playoffs.
Playoffs, it's the postseason. It's not the regular season anymore. Two different things. And so, sure, maybe not enough 4 and 5 teams qualified, but you were given a chance. Make the most of your chance. And so far, they've done a great job making the most of theirs.
Certainly, and obviously, the way that Illinois football playoffs are going is with less and less teams playing 11-man football, and a little bit more of a talent divide, I think, as well. I think it's part of it as well. There's been more 4 and 5 qualifiers in the playoffs, and I think last year there was a 4 and 5 qualifier for the first time in a while. This year, I believe there were a handful of them, with one of them being Nazareth Academy, and we're both from Wisconsin. And I saw in Wisconsin earlier this year that there were actually some 3 and 6 teams that made the playoffs up in the Badger State. So hopefully, IHSA doesn't have to get to that point where we have to start allowing 3 and 6 teams into the playoffs, because that kind of stretches it a little bit. But, certainly that's, the way things are going. But you do have a couple of teams like Nazareth that play really strong schedules, and, it suits them better in the long run when they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, the strength of schedule. You'll see teams with maybe records that don't replicate how good of a team that they truly are, but that it builds them up for, the competition that they'll see in the playoffs. So, yeah, you'll see, teams like a 4 and 5 record, and fans, if they're just, don't follow it too close, they're kind of just looking at the record or the seed and be like, it's just a quick, beatdown. We'll take care of them. We'll move on to the next round. When that's not the case, everybody plays different schedules. Everybody's in different regions where the talent, is greater. Sometimes it's weaker. You get bigger schools and you get smaller schools. So when you look at records, you really got to take it with a grain of salt, and you got to kind of go in depth with who they played and, kind of the competition level at that level.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's always a big part of it. Again, both of these teams, I don't think many people would be too surprised to see these teams in the quarterfinals, given how good they've been this year, and also the competition they faced. Washington, you can maybe make the case more of, I think they can get to the quarterfinals just because of their record, how well they've looked this year. They only had one loss to Kankakee, who's the top team in the state in Class 6A. At least they were for the AP poll all season long. And that game, they only allowed one touchdown on the kickoff return. So they didn't even allow a traditional touchdown, per se, to Kankakee. And so, Washington could, very well could have been 9-0 if that game just goes a little bit differently for the Panthers. And then Glenwood as well. I think that's the team that, any team in the Central State 8, you got to think that they're going to make a deep playoff run because you play so many good teams. You're going to lose to teams like Rochester or SHG, maybe even Decatur, MacArthur, like Glenwood did. Caught them on a bad week and won 14-12. Glenwood was down 4 linemen in that game. So, really, despite Glenwood's 6-3 record, I'm not surprised that we are here at Glenwood in the quarterfinals with the Titans still playing football.
They're strong. Iron sharpens iron. So when you can kind of get those big-time opponents, it's just going to make you stronger, sharper, more attention to detail in these moments. So, yeah, Glenwood, they're down 28-10, but they're still, the little slivers of that toughness that they've built up over the course of the season still showing. Like that field goal drive right before half. That was a lot of toughness from those kids to put that together and get 3 points.
It really was, and we'll take a look at some of the scores around the state as we try and chug through halftime here in Chatham in Class 1A. Camp Point Central beating Belleville Althoff Catholic 30-0 right now, although I'm not sure if that score is correct. No time of the game has been given on IHSAfootball.com. Downers Grove North beating Lincoln Way West 20-6. Winner of that game could get Normal Community if the Iron are supposed to win. And Downers Grove North is a big sleeper in Class 7A. They fit the mold of a team that didn't go 8-1 or 9-0, but they played some really good teams, had some marquee wins. And if Community and Downers Grove North are the two teams advancing, Normal Community would be on the road. Washington fans, if you're rooting on your Panthers and hoping for another game at Babcock Field, you're in luck. If they win, Washington is guaranteed to either host either Kankakee or East St. Louis in the next round. Up in Class 8A, how about a shout out for the Central and Southern Illinois teams? Edwardsville up on Elmhurst York 21-7. That's a big game in Class 8A again. Batavia beating Rockton Hononegah 49-14 in Class 7A. That game in the third quarter. East St. Louis scored another touchdown, so it was 26-13 Flyers lead. That game is a little bit more defensive and a little closer than I think some people may have expected. Obviously, East St. Louis had some really big wins in the first 2 rounds, but I think the later they get on, I think there's some teams in the state that can compete with the Flyers. A Division I talent factory.
Yeah, when you get, when you divide the teams each week into the playoffs, you're really slimming down to like who really is, the best of the best in the area. And, when you make brackets, for the IHSA or anywhere, any state, really, you want your 2 best teams meeting for the final, the state championship. So when you get to this semifinal, we're still in quarterfinal right now, but in the next week with the semifinals, you're going to see 2 really close teams no matter which game you go to. So East St. Louis, while they're a powerhouse, they're definitely not, above everybody else. They have faults, they still put it on their pants the same way everybody else does. It's anybody can win.
Certainly can, and again, and even if Washington, again, playing hypotheticals here, still lots of football left to be played here and in Kankakee, but if Washington and East St. Louis were to face off again, I think, Washington's defense, is probably going to be the strongest one that East St. Louis has faced most of the year. Again, Flyers, they play a little bit of a national schedule in their non-conference. They like to take their talents to, wherever the best teams in the country are. They played St. Francis Academy from Baltimore, Maryland, one of the top teams in the entire nation, as well as, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but I believe it's Atascocita, a team down from Humble, Texas. That's the name of the town, and they're one of the best teams in Texas. They lost to them as well. Also played another strong school down near St. Louis. So, yeah, that is a really battle-tested team, but I think Washington can give them a lot because this defense is really matchup proof. Again, it doesn't matter who you're facing. The Panthers will have an answer for you, I think, more times than not.
And it starts up front. That front seven, they're just showcasing it today how great they've been all season long. Getting the pressure, getting the turnovers. It all starts up right there. If you have a strong front seven and maybe like a weaker secondary, you can kind of get away because the quarterback's not going to have time to find the receivers for the weak links in the secondary. Not saying Washington has weak links in that secondary. They are just well put together on that defense for the Panthers. So, yeah, I mean, if by chance we see a Washington East St. Louis matchup next week, I think it'd be a great show in town for talent across the whole board for both teams.
Certainly, and a quick note for our viewers watching again, glad you're all with us here on ClutchSportsIL.com. Quick note for our viewers is if Washington does win, they would host. We would be able to bring back our video streams if we decide to go to that game. Obviously, it depends on who wins and who around here is still alive in the playoffs and where we want to go. But if the Panthers win, we would be back in more, let's just say, video broadcast-friendly territory in Babcock Field. So we'd be excited to bring you that game if Panthers are able to hang on. But they're back on the field now as the 3-minute warm-up period has started. Some other scores across the state, closest one brewing in Class 2A between Athens and Nashville. Athens leading 28-27. Again, Normal Community, they're now down 27-14 against Glenbard East. So the Iron will have work to do in the second half. Elsewhere in Class 2A, Wilmington, who beat undefeated Tri-Valley last week, they're up 11-7 on Seneca at the half. Big game between two strong Class 2A teams. In Class 1A, Greenfield Northwestern leading Cesar Valier 14-8. And in Class 3A, Breese Mater Dei leads Shelbyville early on 7-6. And obviously this game 28-10. Those are the games that are in action right now. Also, Murfreesboro up over Harrisburg, 13-7 in the third quarter. Harrisburg beat P&D on one of the final plays of the game last week. P&D at a 14 seed had a chance to go on the road for a second straight road upset. Fell just short. So tough one to swallow for the Irish, and it's kind of tough to see in high school football. Once you get eliminated, do you root for the team that beat you to make you look better? Or do you want them to lose as well to say, hey, a little tit-for-tat action there, a little revenge maybe?
I think you can find that across, all sports, not just like high school football. You can find that, MLB or just any league, pick whatever league you want. But, it's like it does – you want to think that, like, it'll make you feel better that, okay, this team beat us and they went far. It's not going to, change the fact that you lost and your season's over. That's how I felt, Good for them, tip your hat, they beat you, but it's still going to sting.
Certainly, and and again, this may be an unpopular opinion. This is just me personally speaking. I'm a very competitive person. If I ever lost anybody, I always want to see the other team lose as well because, especially when the loss ends your season. Again, it doesn't matter how good you look at that point because your season's over. You're not playing anymore. Maybe if you're playing, let's say, college basketball, for example, and let's say if Bradley, for example, were to lose to a team that was pretty strong, you'd want to root for them to make that loss look a little bit better. Now in the playoffs, though, I think you just, kind of, if you're as competitive as me and Owen here in the booth are, you just want to see, you want some of revenge to be exacted on the team that beat you. So,
but can't say that I was rooting for Drake in the NCAA tournament last year after that MVC tournament.
Yeah, I can't say I was either, especially the way that Drake beat Bradley in that championship game. I was there covering it down in St. Louis, and that was a tough one to swallow for sure. A little bit of a stunner there. Wasn't expecting that one after Bradley had beaten Drake by about 10 to 15 points a couple weeks ago to win the regular season title again. We'll both be heading back. I don't know if you're going to the game tonight, Owen. I'll be covering the game tonight between Bradley and Utah State for the Peoria Journal-Star. I'm filling in for David Minion, who, if anyone follows Bradley basketball, reads the Bradley coverage on the PJ Star, or, follows David Minion again, send your best wishes to him when a procedure to take away some sarcoma in his abdomen, so he'll be out for a little bit. But again, send all your best wishes to David Minion. Back in Peoria, again, one of the best guys out there. Very nice fella. Does a great job covering all the local teams and everything. So, Dave, if you're listening, our best wishes to you. Hope you can get back soon and hope you're feeling better back at home as we are now getting set for the third quarter of action. Second half is finally here in Chatham, and Glenwood goes to the onside kick, and it's recovered by Washington at midfield. Nice hands there from Thomas Diedrich, the junior linebacker.
That happened so quick, I didn't even see what happened. All of a sudden, I hear your voice saying onside kick, and I'm like, wait, what?
They tried to pull a fast one, Glenwood did on him, but Washington was ready for it, and I guess memory served me wrong. I thought Glenwood was receiving the ball, but that wasn't the case. So my apologies there if I gave any sense of sort of false hope to Glenwood fans. It is Washington football now, 1st and 10 on their own 49. Just one wide receiver. Again, two tight ends, Cox and Frida, and the fullback Harlan. And off to McQuery running behind his blockers. They provide a nice lane for him and a first down on the first carry of the second half.
And already picking up where he left off in the first half for McQuery. Nice 10, 11-yard run, moving the chains. Like I said, just expect the Panthers keep the ground and pound game going here in the second half.
So a first down run puts Washington already in Titan territory at the 39-yard line. 11:38 to go, and again, they'll come out in the same formation. Lots of muscle on that line. McQuery breaks through for a gain of about 5 or 6 before he's wrapped up. Looked like one of the first guys there for Glenwood may have been Dalton Scott, who appears to be a bit shaken up, holding his hand. A pair of subs come in for the Titans. That's Jonathan Helm and Cody Moss at defensive line.
Yeah, Jonathan Helm had a huge game last week. 8 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, and probably the biggest play of the game-winning tackle on the 2-point try.
Glenwood wouldn't be in this situation if it weren't for that tackle. Otherwise, Richards would have won the game 53-52, and a nice run by McQuery on 2nd and 4 gives Washington another first down. McQuery's motor, Owen, just never seems to stop running. I mean, he just never gets tired. You know, he can run as well in the fourth quarter as he does in the first. I think that's one of the big reasons why he's so special. Great
conditioning. You know, that's what I can just think of right now. He's a player who's going to, you know, be as effective as he is in the first quarter as he is in the fourth quarter.
I'll get the carry again here. Heavy dose of McQuery. He's still on his feet, almost trampling over some Glenwood players who were falling near his cleats, and he gets close to the first down marker. Washington's knocking on the door of the red zone. I believe they're may already be inside the red zone, and they are.
McQuery, I mean, I think a lot of the ability to break tackles come from just being able to bounce off of it. He has the low center of gravity, great balance. Can just bounce just like a tennis ball off a wall.
So it'll now be 2nd and 1. Glenwood going with a 4-man front. They hand off to Harlan, the fullback. And a tough run gets him up for the first down. It should set up a 1st and goal. Harlan just had 2 carries so far today, but they've been big. Hunter Reed's had 1 big carry. That was a touchdown to put Washington up 28-7 momentarily before that 38-yard field goal from Schwint to end this first half.
Yeah, in terms of quantity, it's low, but in terms of quality, they've came at the right time each time, going for first down runs, going for a touchdown, just like Hunter Reed.
Another handoff to McQuery. He's hit initially at the line, spins around and tries to pick up another 1 or 2. Good effort there from Glenwood's front line of Hay, Ferguson, and Scott. And I think a lot of this game is going to depend on those 3 guys, 2 of them seniors, Hay and Scott, to see if they can keep Glenwood in the game and get Washington to get off the field, whether that be a turnover on downs or a punt.
Yeah, you can hear the crowd getting into it right here. They really want their defense to see a stop right here.
Washington's formation's not changing. Looks like they're going to go with no wide receivers here. Full house backfield and 2 tight ends. Handoff will go to Hunter Reed, who is breaking free into the end zone. 2 touches, 2 touchdowns for Hunter Reed. He ran left and had all the blockers he needed, an 8-yard score. Washington leads 34-10.
Yeah, that 8-yard touchdown run by Hunter Reed, almost identical to the one he had earlier in the first half.
Just a couple yards longer, but yeah, it looked a lot like the same. Running to the left side behind Jackson Stewart and Josh Hofer. And Washington comes out and socks Glenwood in the face with an opening drive touchdown with 8:36 to go here in the third quarter. Miller's PAT is good, and it's Washington 35, Glenwood 10 after the first drive here in quarter number 3.
That's a big answer by Washington. They gave up the field goal drive going in halftime, so their first possession to score a touchdown, just like they did the opening drive of the game, says a lot about the starting halves off right on the right footing.
I think it says a lot that Glenwood, obviously the best that they've played is after Washington went up 21-0, and even since they've went up 21-0, Washington has still outscored Glenwood 14-10. So. And maybe even since Glenwood has gotten back into it, maybe even the field a little bit more, it's still tilted in favor of Washington.
Yeah, and it shows that the opening 21-0 deficit where it's really hard to come back from. That was just not great football for them. A lot of mistakes, turnovers, you name it, just didn't go their way. So yeah, they're in a good stretch right now. Like you said, only 14-10, but right now, that 3-touchdown difference is the difference maker.
Last week for Washington was how they finished, 21 points all in the second half. And this one is about how they start, 21 points in just the first quarter. Nice return by Glenwood out to about the 37. And on the return, that was Brady Dwyer. And the quarterback, running back, hybrid player. Again, he's their backup quarterback to Colton Knadler, who is going to have the half of his life, I think, to bring Glenwood back into this one. Not real much room for error.
No, not all. But, well, I mean, he's coming off probably the game of his life last week, the 385 yards, 5-touchdown performance. So he definitely has it in him.
4 wide receivers, 2 on each side for Knadler. Running out, pressure by Bell, and he lost it over Harlan, and a nice catch made by Newman again. The tall target brings in at the 47. That's the gain of 9 on 1st and 10.
That was some beautiful touch right there from Knadler. Running out of the pocket once again, seeing his receiver and just barely able to get the pass over Harlan's fingertips. And that's a great start for the drive here for the Titans.
A lot of great things about Jace Harlan. Again, the only thing is he's 5'9", so he was able to loft that one out. And the ball is out. It's recovered by Washington. There goes Eli Papis running to the end zone. He's going to take it back. Another defensive score for Washington. That'll turn the game on its head, and the Panthers now leading big time, 41-10.
Wow, Eli Papis, what a play right there. Just kind of like a look what I found on the ground right there. Picking the ball up and taking it back for the house. He's had a great season, 61 tackles, 10 TFLs, 5 sacks, and an interception. Now he gets to add a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And Papis, he's the son of Bradley's strength and conditioning coach, Eddie Papis.
Interesting story for him is he broke his leg last year. Underwent a interesting type of surgery. I forget the name of it exactly, but it's sort of almost kind of like a really tight, almost like elastic band rather than a traditional rod in his leg to help get him recovered, and Miller's PAT is good. 42-10, Washington leading. They can taste the semifinals now. 2 defensive scores, so I think that's a major turning point for them. You mentioned the 21-0 start. That fumble recovery, or I should say that pick 6 by Carter Prina was big for them. But the fumble recovery now from Papis makes it an even steeper hill to climb now for Glenwood.
And what I'm looking at right now, we're keeping track of kind of like the scoring plays. I'm seeing an exact carbon copy of what played out in the first half to start the game as it is right now here in the second half. They opened up the game with a rushing touchdown. They opened up a rushing touchdown for the second half. And then immediately after, scored a defensive touchdown from a Carter Prina interception, and that time it's Eli Papis getting the fumble recovery. So we saw in the first half it opened up 21-0. So far, with only about 4 or 5 minutes into the second half, they've already put up 2 touchdowns, 1 offensively, 1 defensively.
Not what you want to see if you're Glenwood, and this crowd is pretty quiet right now. All smiles on the orange and black sideline across from us, but the fans clad in red are a little anxious right now. Eli Papis had a great postseason, had 7 tackles and a sack against Danville, added 4 with a tackle for loss against Crete Moni last week. Kick us away from Miller, picked up at the 21-yard line, and Right out at near the 35, that's Blake Lanin, the sophomore wide receiver. And now here comes Colton Knadler again, the sophomore quarterback. And, you know, head coach David Hayes says, you know, the game has slowed down for him a lot as a sophomore, and his leadership is starting to show. But trying to come back from this kind of adversity, now you're down 32. You have got to score, and now you've got to score quick. Try and get yourself back in it.
Yeah, and it's hard, especially for, you know, a young sophomore like he is. And, you know, you said the game slowed down, but I'm telling you what, the game probably sped up for him today with that fast and ferocious defense of the Panthers.
He'll pass here on first down. Great coverage by Brayson Barth. He blanketed Lena in there. Hell was with him step for step, but didn't pick up the pass interference call. Incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10. Knadler is a three-sport guy for Glenwood. He is a catcher on their baseball team, point guard of their basketball team. So always interesting to see the guys that play basketball, including James Johnson for Washington. And it's kind of the part of the year where they got basketball practice starting up. Football, you're still playing. 2nd and 10. Here's Knadler in the shotgun. Harley coming right at him right away, but he still got it away. It'll be a first down, Glenwood. Quick little pitch and catch. He found Grady Mueller, the speedy sophomore.
And really that's going to be the play that they have to go to. It's quick, slant right over the middle. You know, they've had issue with it getting deflected from, you know, the line to receivers not looking for the ball. But that play it's found a little bit more success as the game has gone on. And, yeah, I mean, he's just not going to have enough time to really kind of go for deep routes to his receivers.
By the time Knadler looked up, Harlan was right in his face. Major credit to the sophomore for getting that pass off. He'll go play action here, and more pressure. And the pass is brought in. I believe that was Newman. It was Mason Burke in coverage for Washington, but the 6'7" target, again, you just can't teach size.
Outstanding catching control right there from Newman to bring that ball in. Kind of looked like it was, you know, an original catch, bobbled it a little bit, but good hands, good awareness to bring it back into his body for the catch. And even on that pressure, Papis was looking ready to just destroy Knadler.
2 straight plays have been a linebacker just flying up the middle for Washington, but Glenwood's been able to get the ball out quick. They have 4 wide receivers here with 3 of them on the near side. Pass again here, and he's going deep. He's looking for Simmons. Incomplete, but there's a flag down. They might get Mason Burke with either a hold or pass interference, but interesting enough, Owen, I didn't see a flag thrown for it, but it looks like Garrett Cox was held at the line of scrimmage back near, but they're not going to call that. It'll be a pass interference, 15-yard penalty on Mason Burke. But with the ball in the 29, that'll be half the distance. So put the ball at the 14.5 now for Glenwood.
Yeah, that play, I mean, by textbook, it's pass interference. It's not going to be a popular call because you want to see players just kind of battle out, go for it. But, you know, by textbook, that's going to get called for pass interference.
There was, you know, certainly Burke's call wasn't up for debate. That one was pretty clear, but and Cox came off the edge. It looked for a moment like he was held, but we'll see what how they can respond. He responds right again, wraps him up, but no. Spinning out of it for Glenwood was Mueller. Cox was right there as soon as Mueller got the ball, but Mueller was able to spin out of it and pick up a couple.
Nick Mueller doing his best Houdini act right there, because I thought that play was going to get blown up in the backfield for a loss of 3 or 4, but found a way to spin out and get what he can on it. Turned out to be positive yardage.
So now 2nd and 9 for Glenwood. Pick up just 1. Ball on Washington's 14. Titans going left to right as the sun begins to set ever just so slightly. Not hardly a cloud in the sky here south of Springfield. Man in motion is Zach Phipps, the wide receiver. They hand off. They're going to Mueller again, running near the outside, and I think that may have been a tackle for a loss. And there was Zach Ryan, Washington safety.
Yeah, the Panthers did a great job kind of flying to the ball right there. Saw a lot of white helmets just finding their way to the football.
6:03 to go here in the third quarter of play. It'll be a 3rd and 7 for Glenwood. Probably a passing down, you would guess. They've passed it a bit more than they've thrown it today, as has been the case the past couple weeks for them. I'll go with 3 wide receivers at tight end. That's Jonathan Helm to help block. They run the screen pass, and it's complete to Mueller. He runs through the end zone. He's in for the touchdown. Glenwood finds a response with 5:56 to go in the third quarter.
That's a big response right there from the Titans. He's looking a little grim right there after giving up the fumble recovery for a touchdown, make it 42-10. You know, it's a little life. It's, you know, we're getting towards the end of the game where, man, it's just feeling like too much of a lead for the Panthers, but it's a good response if you're Coach Hay, seeing that from your team.
And a smart call here for Glenwood. If they can get the 2-point conversion, they could be a 3-possession game if they continue to go for 2 and score a couple touchdowns. They'll go with a heavier set. They'll hand off to Dwyer. No, it's a play action. Knaler running out of the pocket. Left it is batted away by guess who? Garrett Cox. And the 2-point conversion is no good. It'll remain a 4-possession game here at Glenwood.
I think we're seeing this defensive line getting about the same amount of PBUs as a defensive back would.
That's a great point. I mean, Washington secondary probably doesn't get many PBUs because the defensive line takes them all for them. But a big stop there for Washington. Again, that screen pass to Simmons. Washington brought a ton of pressure. Glenwood had the screen, and Knaler, again, for the third or fourth time that drive, was able to just barely get that ball out before he got tackled. And Simmons was able to just run in mostly untouched for the score. But, again, Washington leading big time. And I think what Glenwood is going to need at some point, Owen, is I think they could really use what Washington's had as a defensive score.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, complementary football, it's key. And the Titans really haven't matched the complementary football that the Panthers have had today. So they definitely needed, you know, some things to kind of go their way, as Washington did get.
Here goes the onside kick from Mia Gerger, and falling on it for the Panthers, that's Jackson Sonderman, the senior special teamer who had a couple tackles last week, and he recovers it right near midfield. So Washington will keep the ball, and I think we're probably going to see onsides just about the rest of the game for Glenwood, depending on how much they kick off. But now I think you got to force Washington with 5:56 left in the third. I think you got to start thinking about trying to get 3 and outs, because the clock right now is probably your biggest enemy.
It is. The clock is the worst enemy right now, and, you know, in terms of like the 3 and outs, it's easier said than done. You know, when you're facing this offensive line, Kenyon, McQuery, they really haven't been able to get much for 3 and outs in this game. So, I mean, you never know, though.
They have not had a 3 and out actually at all today. 1st and 10 from midfield. And that goes to McQuery, and he's wrapped up right away. Big tackle there from Xavier Try, a senior defensive lineman. The first time we've called his name this afternoon.
Well, that's a good start if they want the 3 and out. You know, getting the stuff right there on 1st down. Like I said, you know, when you want to stay out of those 3rd and short situations, it's there on 1st and 2nd down. You got to make the plays.
Now 2nd and 10, and one of the rare times today that Washington has been behind schedule in terms of down and distance. See what they try and draw up here. East St. Louis leading 32-13 now, so the Flyers are finding some traction. 2nd and 10, pitch right to McQuery. Has some open space like there's been all game long, and McQuery's got a 1st down and more down near the 30-yard line, and a late flag comes flying in. We'll see what this is about, but that toss play has just been unstoppable for the Panthers. The seals from the edges have been great.
Any play that you get McQuery the ball has been unstoppable today. But definitely, yes, when you get him out in space like that outside, it's great.
It'll be a face mask on Glenwood, so tack on 15 more to the McQuery run. Overall, a pretty clean game on both sides today, Owen, but that one is probably the most devastating penalty so far for Glenwood, because not only do you give up what was about a 20-yard rush from McQuery, you give him an extra 15 as well, but at the moment the ball's around the 28, 30-yard line, which is where McQuery was tackled, so rather it's on the 25. They'll hand off to McQuery, running left this time. He finds the sideline. He's got some space. Can he break it? Yes, he can. K-Down McQuery found the perfect angle and the right amount of speed. Just got into the end zone. And Washington is unstoppable here this afternoon.
they're just pouring it on right here with ease against this Titans defense, and they're really making it look easy, John. That's for sure.
Okay, now McQuery from 25 yards out makes it 48-16 Washington. And every time that Glenwood has scored, Owen, Washington's been right back there. I don't know if they've had an empty possession so far today. I think it's been all touchdowns. Miller's extra point is good as gold, and it's 49-16 Panthers. Boy, that one you feel like could be the dagger.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a 49-16 ball game. You wonder if Coach Crouch is going to start pulling some of his starters. I think you got to bring that into question. Definitely would probably see him finish out the third quarter. I think fourth quarter is when you're going to start seeing maybe some of the younger guys or the bench role players get some playoff action. You know, you always like to see those guys be able to step on the field and, you know, get that feeling of playoff football as well.
And what's crazy, Owen, is that Washington's been able to do that for all of their playoff games so far, and usually you don't have that happen because the games are usually pretty close. And given their game last week against Creekman, it was a bit closer than their 59-14 beatdown of Danville in the first round. But, I mean, the fact that you can keep your guys fresh and have none of them have played a full 4 quarters, it really keeps everyone fresh. And as the kickoff is returned to the Glenwood 30-yard line. But, I mean, that just, you know, it's the opposite of whatever the opposite of a double-edged sword is. It's a win-win because you get to move on, and you also – your guys aren't completely exhausted after each week, even though we're getting into mid to late November.
Yeah, I mean, the one drawback with that is, like, you know, you get into situations where they're going to need their players to play all 4 quarters. I guess that's where it, you know, can kind of bring into question, be a little murky right there. But, I mean, last week they were able to do it just fine going into the fourth quarter in a closer ball game with Crete Moniz.
So 1st and 10, ball on the 31. Knadler with an empty set and a quick pass, and he's found number 18. That is Grady Mueller for a quick throw and catch out to the 41. Knadler has really gotten the ball out quick, Owen, and yeah, we don't have Amazon Web Services stats like we were talking on the way down here, but the time that he catches the ball to the time he releases it has been probably under 2.5 seconds the last couple of pass completions.
Yeah, give or take, 2.5. But it's for sure that they've kind of noticed a trend with Mueller getting him the ball.
So it'll be all receivers again, and Layden just straight up drops it on a little tunnel screen on 1st and 10 from the 42. So that'll make it 2nd and 10, and you can see on the Glenwood sideline, you know, players are a little bit dejected right now. They know that it is a very, very steep mountain to climb. I think if you can, you know, get a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, make it 49-24. It's still a 4 possession ball game because of that 2-point conversion south that Washington had. I think if it was 3 possessions, you know, maybe you have the glimmer of hope is just a bit brighter. Taylor dropping back, looking downfield, and no one's home. Miscommunication between Layden and Gavin Simmons at wide receiver. They both were kind of standing in the same spot. The pass went to the right of both of them. Now it'll be 3rd and 10 Glenwood.
I think if you're a coach or a fan of the Glenwood Titans, really what you want to see here is just your players fight. You know, you don't want to see them just kind of lay over and just give up. You want to see them fight, maybe put up a couple more touchdowns or points or, you know, whatever. Just fight till the clock says 0. As we've, you know, noted many times on this broadcast, this is a young team. But when you can kind of get into next year, even this playoff game, as bad as it looks right now, it could really pay off for them.
I go play action again. Knadler is being chased by Eric Doherty, the big D tackle, but now he's brought down by Chase Harlan. Washington gets his first feast of a sack today, and it's the middle linebacker bringing him down for a loss of a couple, and that'll make it 4th and long. Obvious punting situation, but you may as well go for it. You have nothing to lose really at this point.
Yeah, I feel like you have to go for it. And you mentioned it's the first official sack on the day for the Panthers, but the way they've been playing, you wouldn't guess that. I mean, the pressure's just been there every down, every play.
And the thing that makes the Washington defensive line so dangerous is that they're able to get multiple guys pressuring. You know, that time Doherty, the big 300-pound defensive tackle, was in pursuit of Knadler, before Harlan was able to get him when he was running out of space. Now Knaler going deep down the field looking for Simmons. He had a step on Washington's Zach Ryan, but couldn't bring it in. That'll be a turnover on downs. Washington gets the ball in great field position at Glenwood's 37-yard line with 3:03 to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it was a play that was almost. The receiver, he ran a great route. He got a little bit behind the defender. It was there. Knaler just kind of maybe overthrew it just a tad bit, facing pressure on his blind side. If he would have held on the ball just even an extra half a second, he was going to get blown up. But it was a good effort from the Titans on that play.
So Washington will take over, and we'll see if they can keep up their pretty much spotless mark on offense. I mean, every drive for them seemingly has ended in a touchdown. You had McQuery's got one. James Johnson has one. Hunter Reed has two. McQuery actually has two. So, and then you have the two defensive scores of Prina and Eli Papis. Short gain of just one. McQuery's still in the ball game, so and we'll probably see these Washington starters finish the third quarter, and then we'll see what happens in the fourth. They may bring in some of the backups.
And boy, this performance today by the Washington Panthers, you got to feel confident heading into next week in the semifinal round.
And I think that as a first down or second down handoff rather to Hunter Reed goes down to about the 30-yard line, pick up of 6. I think that's really what it's going to do is, obviously no one on either Kankakee or East St. Louis will admit to it, but they're going to notice what Washington did in this game and be like, wow, this team is for real. And I know a lot of people from other parts of the state, whether it be from outside of Chicago, maybe even down in East St. Louis, around that area as well, they may look at some teams from Central Illinois like, okay, these guys don't play anybody, they're not good, we usually can beat them. That's not going to be the case when you face Washington this year. I mean, this team is so special and has a state title on their mind as McQuery picks up a first down just barely on 3rd and 3. Keep the chains moving and keep the clock moving as well. Under 2 minutes left to go in the third.
Yeah, they're certainly built for a great playoff run that like they're on right now. I mean, we said this Glenwood team put up 53 points in their or average 53 in their last 3 games and only 16 today. I mean, just that defense it's incredible.
Doesn't matter how fast your offense is trained. It doesn't matter how fast that train is going. They're going to reach a boulder in the middle of the railroad, and that boulder is the Washington Panthers defense. That's going to cause some derailments for sure as they hand off. We're up the middle. It's Hunter Reed. He's going for the hat trick. He's got it. Reed found the open seam up the middle, and a 26-yard touchdown for the junior. Washington is piling it on here in Glenwood. How about the backup running back having a career day? 55 now. It's a 50-burger in Chatham.
Hunter Reed matching his total touchdown count on the season in just this game. Yeah, I mean, we don't have the official stats on the yardage, but it's got to be getting up there to triple digits.
I'd love to see, as Miller's PAT is good and it's now a 40-point ball game, I'd love to see how many rushing yards Washington has today. It's got to be definitely over 200, probably over 300. They're maybe even close on the 400-yard mark. I mean, it's just outstanding what they've been able to do. And, again, all the credit goes to the offensive line as well. Daryl Crouch said just last week, he said he wants them to be more dominant. Well, I think they have passed that test with flying colors here today.
They certainly have. I mean, I don't know how you can be much more dominant at the offensive line than you did today. The amount of rushing touchdowns, rushing yards. I mean, they just had their way. Every play, there really wasn't an answer from this Titans defense. They could just go up to the line of scrimmage and do whatever they want, and they'd have their way.
That's how it's been for Washington so far. Is a couple Glenwood fans are already heading for the exits. Worth noting that we are now in running clock territory. And a reminder, this is the IHSA quarterfinals. You don't see that too often. What a performance from the Panthers here today as the kick is away. It bounces and picked up at the 25 by Lanin and brought down about the 35. Almost every Glenwood possession, Owen, has started between the 30 and the 40-yard line. So haven't really got bad field position, but haven't gotten extremely great field position either, just about all game long.
No, and we mentioned it. They were going to need like a special teams play. That could have been through like special team, the kick return or a punt return. Well, they didn't really have any punt. I think Washington punted once today.
They did it once,
yeah,
yes.
one time.
Just remembered that. So not completely spotless, but very close to it. Not an A+, but a solid A.
A.
Naylor drops back to throw, and in coverage was Andre Lewis. The motion's incomplete. Ball nearly hit the ground, and it is incomplete. So I'll bring up 2nd and 10. That'll probably be the final play of the third quarter here at Glenwood. What a third quarter from Washington. Oh, and it came in at 28-10, and they score 4 touchdowns into the third quarter. That is pretty much just taking Glenwood out of this game, and just going to coast to a running clock. Stay with us here on ClutchSportsL.com. We'll continue to bring you everything here in the fourth, but Washington pretty much book your ticket to next week's game, and it looks like they'll be facing East St. Louis, who leads 39-13 with 1:05 to go. So unless something completely out of the ordinary, and we're talking way, way out possibility, looks like it'll be Washington, East St. Louis at Babcock Field on Saturday.
And that could be a really, really good game.
East St. Louis, a team that I've always been fascinated with. Obviously, football is, football in East St. Louis is seen as, not just, a way to stay active. I mean, it's seen by a lot of those kids as a way to, get out of East St. Louis, obviously. And I actually watched it as a film. I believe it was on HBO Max, I want to say, or some streaming service out there. Maybe not the first one that comes to mind, but it's called 87 Blocks, and it goes inside. It's like a little documentary on the East St. Louis football team for a couple of years ago, and it was a great watch. I highly recommend it to anyone out there, especially high school football fans, as Naylor goes deep, just out of the reach. I believe that was laid in. Barth was in coverage, but a lot of people around the state know East St. Louis. It's a statewide brand, nationally recognized team, and they're going to be coming to Babcock Field next week. Can't wait.
And we talk about how great this Washington team has had in the postseason run, dominating teams. They're really going to get a tough matchup with East St. Louis. And I think on the flip side, East St. Louis is going to get an equally tough matchup with this Washington defense as well.
And they're driving back to passes right into the hands of Andre Lewis. The Panthers defense isn't done. Lewis running down the sideline across the 20, now across the 10. He's going to take this back for 6 as there's a flag down in the backfield, but Andre Lewis ran in a straight line down the sideline, cut it back for a touchdown. We'll see if it stands. Flag down near the 20-yard line. It was during the return, so they should be Washington football regardless. Just a question of, will the touchdown stand? It's like there may have been a blindside block on Washington as shaken up for Glenwood. That was Nick Smith, their left tackle. So I don't believe the touchdown will stand, but Andre Lewis gets an interception to his name, his first one of the year. He's another basketball player for Eric Schermerhorn's Washington Panthers.
Yeah, going out and make a play, and I believe that's 3 or 4 turnovers forced by this Panthers defense. 2 of them, 2 and almost 3 just went for, scores.
It's crazy to think that every turnover, obviously aside from that penalty, is, you don't count the penalty, every turnover's gone back for a touchdown. That's just makes it so much more effective. Takes out the question of, well, can you capitalize on the turnovers? Well, you don't need to capitalize when you can just run it back for a touchdown like Andre Lewis did, but it won't count after the Washington penalties. So they'll get the ball at Glenwood's 35-yard line. There'll be a no rush, running clock territory, and how about this? Eric Doherty, the starting nose tackle, is coming out as an offensive lineman. Some other guys out there on the field. Hunter Reed in at running back. Humphrey still at quarterback. James Johnson and 2 other wideouts on the field now for Washington. Actually, the handoff goes to Jacob Walker. His first carry of the game goes for about 2. Down to the Glenwood about 33-yard line, right up the middle.
Yeah, Jacob Walker, not much on the season, just 14 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown, but gets to play in the playoffs, so good for him.
Walker, it's been a while since he's had some carries, but again, he's a senior, so gets a chance to see the field and playoff action, and who knows, maybe even get his name on the list of Washington's touchdown scorers. East St. Louis has officially won over Kankakee, so mark the Flyers down as a semifinal team as Walker bowls up to about the 21. Washington is probably going to go between the tackles most of the way out. Good pickup of about 6 or 7 there.
So I know we talked about coming into the second half how much Washington would throw the ball in the second half. I mean, off the top of my head, can you think of a pass play that they had at all?
Not in the second half, I believe, as Henry Warwick and Eric Doherty, they've been relieved. Their day is done. They hype up the Washington crowd, waving their arms up in the air, trying to get them going as the snap is fumbled by Humphrey. I believe he fell back onto it. A rare miscue for Washington on offense, but won't hurt him too much other than essentially a loss of down there.
Yeah, I kind of went down like awkwardly with that snap, and I think they're going to take him off the field so they don't have to worry about him tweaking a knee or something, because they're certainly going to need him next week against East St. Louis.
So now Madden Mendoza in at quarterback for Washington. Will probably just be taking charge of the handoffs for most of the rest of the game. Walker still in at running back, and you also have Thomas Diederich in the backfield as well. James Johnson at wide receiver. Snap is over the head, so Mendoza falls on it. 2 straight bad snaps from the Washington offensive line again. Trying to see who their, I think it's probably their backups in and the offensive line in as well. So maybe some guys that a little bit rusty, but Washington still able to hold on to possession. Now it's 3rd and 21 on Glenwood's 33. Got Miller Rampenthal on the line now at guard. Jacob Goff on the field now as well. Another lineman seeing the field. And they'll go with the 3 wide receiver set again. No tight ends. Handoff goes to Diederich, the fullback. He goes right up the middle and pushes through up to about the 24, gain of 9. This will be the biggest 4th and long situation that Glenwood is put Washington in, but at this point, it doesn't really matter too much.
No, and I mean, on that play, the positive side was getting the snap correctly, kind of running a play.
Number 63 in at center for Washington. There's not a 63 on the roster that was given to us, unless maybe it's 53. It's tough to tell from up here in the press box, but it's number 63 again. We don't have a 63 on the roster, so the center shall remain anonymous, at least for us up here in the booth, as Washington calls timeout. Another lineman that's now on the field, Luke Hoffman at left tackle. So it is all second stringers now for the Panthers, who are 6 minutes and 44 seconds away from officially putting themselves in the Class 6A semifinals. That's what a season for them, and you almost say, we said it last week, it's almost a storybook. Their 100th year of football, their beloved head coach's last year, and they're going to keep on playing and postpone that retirement party for at least another week, and Washington's going to go for a field goal here from 46 yards out.
Yeah, we're talking about the historic season, and if it's his last year, you feel like it's kind of like the last dance kind of theme to it, and man, that last dance with the Chicago Bulls ended in title.
From 46, Devin Miller's kick has a ton of leg, and it's through. That one would have been good from 50 or more. What a kick from the sophomore kicker. Obviously, Washington doesn't need the points, but I think they were just trying to see what's Devin Miller's range. Well, it's over 50 yards, and that could really come in handy in their next playoff game.
And really, I mean, has there been a single thing that Washington hasn't done right in this game? Just everything has gone their way, from running the ball to getting the stops on defense to getting big field goals like that here in the fourth quarter. So they've really put together just a strong performance here on the road at Glenwood.
Never really a doubt on that kick from Mueller. Again, you mentioned everybody's been playing good. Good snap, good hole. Just, the fundamentals have just been there for Washington all season long. They're a point away from 60. I'm not sure if they'll reach that yet. We are in running clock territory, 6:39 left to go. So depending on how long Glenwood can keep a drive sustained, it could be the final drive of the game. As Mueller will now get set to kick it away from the 40, going left to right. And it's a low bouncer on the ground, a little bit of a squib, picked up at the 11 or 12. And returned by Andrew Schwartz, a sophomore wide receiver, is out just short of the 25-yard line. So good coverage there by Washington. And again, a big key for Washington was preventing the kickoff returns for a touchdown. And we've seen with these low ground kicks all game long, I think that's probably going to be what they might do next week against East St. Louis as well.
Yeah, it's been effective today. The special teamer's been able to quickly get down the field, get to the tackle right away. And another aspect of that kind of kick that I really like is that when it's low like that, some players might just kind of like drop a knee without even knowing it. And next thing you know, they're down at the 10-yard line, and you might catch them right there.
And the rule in high school football is Glenwood runs on 1st and 10 is once you're down, you're down. In the NFL, if you fall down and no one touches you, then you can get back up, but there's no down by contact rule. There's a player down now for Glenwood. Looks to be an offensive lineman. You hate to see that with less than 6 minutes left to go in the game and their season as well, but I'll get a brief stoppage here with 5:42 to go. Again, good news is we haven't seen too many players shaken up. Washington's been staying healthy. That player for Glenwood, that's Ian Goldstein, senior offensive lineman. One thing about these seniors, Owen, is David Hay mentioned, obviously their career is going to come to an end, at least in high school career is going to come to an end in a way that I'm sure they didn't expect and nor did they want. But what they've been able to do has been really quite impressive, considering that the senior class did not win a game in middle school in their junior football league program. So, again, Glenwood is, don't let us get lost in translation. They've had a great season, a great career. Glenwood is always a threat in the Central State 8 Conference and in the playoffs, and I think they have a lot to be proud of as their careers come to a close.
They certainly do, and it was worth noting. So with the middle school program here at Glenwood, it starts in 7th and 8th grade, and Coach David Hayes said that there is more than 90 players in middle school football right now. And he also said that as of right now, there's 55 sophomores on this team. So big numbers for the roster here at Glenwood for football. And it shows just, what kind of a football school that they are. You get a lot of kids out. Just a really productive kind of producing of football players.
Strong tradition here in Titan territory. It's 3rd and 5 now from their own 28. Handoff, this is going to go to Micah Grusenmeyer. And he's got a first down up to the 35-yard line. That'll keep things going for the Titans.
That was a good run right there. Offensive line got a nice push.
We'll try and identify some backups in the game now for Washington. Ethan Chadwick in at defensive line. You have Luke Hoffman in there as well. Dylan Brabson in at defensive back. We'll get some more coming to you, but second stringers in the game now for Panthers here in quarter number 4. Grusenmeyer not much doing there, and he's wrapped up. Even Washington's second stringers on defensive line are still playing well. Ethan Schofield seen some playing time, as well as Owen Blackerby and Camden Augustine as well on the field. That's nice to see these players, and the reason we identify them is because they don't get to see the field maybe quite as often, and especially in a big playoff game, good to see them. All their hard work they put in practice, and practice is such a big part of what Washington does. Daryl Crouch said that our hardest games of the year are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays when we face ourselves. So the team practices very well as well.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going back to my high school days. Those practices were, sometimes tough, coming off a loss where the coaches really drill you to get better. Sometimes they were fun coming off a win, or, it was just another time to be with your friends, be with your classmates, just doing something collectively that you all enjoy to do, and that's playing football. And you get to go out there on a, Saturday, Friday night in the fall and go out there and just have fun. Really get to enjoy the sport that you love.
Certainly is. Now with under 3 minutes to go, it's 3rd and 6 for Glenwood at their own 39-yard line. Put a man in motion. That is Ryan Packett, a sophomore wideout. They'll run up the middle, and it's stopped right away. Washington piling on. I believe one of the first guys there looked like it was Jacob Goff, junior lineman, big tackle there. That'll make it 4th down Glenwood, and of course you're going to go for it. I think if Washington gets the ball back, I'm sure as we approach the 2-minute mark, they'll just take a couple knees and get on out of here with a win. That's going to be a happy bus ride about an hour and 20 minutes back to Washington High School.
Yeah, happy bus ride. Happy car rides for all the fans here. They really did a good job showing up, showing out for the support. Like we said, the tailgate scene as we pulled into the parking lot ourselves, just seeing the Washington flags, even the Glenwood flags, it was really cool to see.
And Glenwood will punt it away. Washington doesn't send anybody deep. And that one will roll dead at the 19 with 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go. Washington is on the doorstep of the Class 6A semifinals, 1 game away from the state title game. The last time that they reached the semifinals was in 2017 in Class 5A. They lost that game. They also went in 2013, again under Daryl Crouch. So this will be Crouch's 3rd semifinal appearance. Yeah, a quick note from the Washington Tech crew here. Washington center is Sean Thornton, a sophomore. So he's the guy snapping the ball for Washington. Want to make sure we got him in there as well. And shout out to the Washington Tech crew for making the trip as well. They're also a big part of Washington's success as well. All the film that they get to watch, and they take that very seriously as well. So now under 40 seconds to go. That will be here comes the final play of the game. It's the best formation in football, the victory formation, and Washington felt this one coming for a while. And now it'll be official. A final kneel down and time will expire. Washington's heading to the Class 6A semifinals for the 3rd time under head coach Daryl Crouch, and will have an opportunity for their first state championship since 1985.
Yeah, they're set up in a pretty good spot. They've done well. A lot of momentum on that sideline in that school right now for Washington, and you're going up against a mighty opponent, but boy, you're in probably the best time to face an opponent like East St. Louis is right now for Washington.
Washington and Glenwood go through the handshake lines. Overall, really well competed game. Clean game on both sides of the ball. 2 strong football teams. Washington was ultimately quite a bit stronger than Glenwood was today, and they are going to be a force once they move on and host East St. Louis next week at Babcock Field again. Not going to say anything's official yet, but there will be probably a pretty good chance that Clutch Sports Media will be in the building for a live video broadcast. Yes, you heard it, video. I'll bring our cameras back. Don't have to deal with the NFHS network back at Washington. So I'm glad you tuned in here from Glenwood. Washington was 59-16. Owen, your final thoughts and just overall your final impressions, what you liked overall from the Panthers today?
Really, overall impression is this is just a well-rounded team. across the board, offense, defense, special teams. Coaching does a great job getting these kids prepared each and every week to play their best football. And their best football was on display here today against Glenwood. And it's really hard to look at this team and not think that there's still a long road ahead of them and a lot of season left ahead of them too. So definitely a lot of positives to take away if you're a Washington Panthers fan. And, hats off to Glenwood on a good season on their end, just coming up short tonight.
Certainly, and you bring a good point about, it seems like Washington just continues to play their best game of the season. They break their own record for their best game of the season almost every week, and that's what makes this team so dangerous. They are peaking at the right time, and they will live to see another week in November and in the Class 6A semifinal. So real quick, putting a bow on this one, scoring for this one, started off with a 5-yard touchdown run from McQuery. Then Carter Prina got a first of 2 defensive scores with a pick 6. James Johnson, a nice 8-yard touchdown reception in the end zone, put Washington up 21-0 early in the second quarter. Then Glenwood struck back with a 35-yard touchdown pass from Knaler to Simmons. But then Washington got a touchdown from Hunter Reed to make it 28-7. And I feel like at that point, Owen, that's when you kind of knew that Washington had an answer for every single time that Glenwood scored. And coming out of halftime after that field goal, they scored in the first drive with Hunter Reed again, that time from 8 yards out. And wrapping it up, again, fumble recovery for a touchdown by Eli Papis. Made it 42-10, then a touchdown run from Mueller. Briefly made it 42-16, but it was well out of hand at that point. McQuery, Reed scored, and then Devin Mueller with a big 46-yard field goal for Washington. That's all the scoring from this one. Plenty of scoring, and as Glenwood team came in, they were the ones averaging over 50 a game. But Washington showed them, hey, this is how you play offense. Ground and pound, big offensive line. Just can't say enough about Washington.
And it was kind of interesting the way that was done. So with Glenwood, their offense, a lot more spread out. They like 4 or 5 receivers, out wide, not many in next to the quarterback. Didn't do a whole lot with it today, but then you go at Washington's offense, you got everybody just packed in right there, maybe one receiver outright, which doesn't even sometimes look like he's about to run a route, just kind of sitting there waiting. And, yeah, it's the ground and pound offense definitely beat out the air attack today.
Washington fans clad in orange and black are on the field congratulating their Panthers. Lots of hugs, lots of smiles all around. They are going back home happy after a 59-16 win over the 6-seed Glenwood Titans. The 2-seed Panthers are marching on to the Class 6A semifinals. What a game here down in Chatham. Glad you spent your Saturday afternoon with us on ClutchSportsIL.com. For all of our amazing crew, Owen Dimple, my color partner, as well as Michael Savoy, took some great pictures on the sidelines. Francisco Alonso in our Peoria studios updating our social media accounts. And Ethan Genders from Too Efficient Media will have some video highlights from the sidelines. We'll be putting together a great mix on social media, our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter pages as well. Make sure you follow those at Clutch Sports and Media on Facebook and Instagram, ClutchSportsIL.com or ClutchSportsIL, I should say, on Twitter. Stay tuned to where we're going next week, but probably a good chance we'll be heading back to Babcock. So that about wraps things up from Glenwood. Washington 59, Glenwood 16. Special season for the Panthers. We'll live to see another day. So long, folks. Have a great weekend.